We are tonight's entertainment.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Excellent!
Hello everyone, welcome to episode of the Movie Mania podcast, where we talk films past, present, and future. I am Sherman Trey White of Podcast Media, and joining me are the men, the myths, the legends, hopping fences, and eating ice cream, Trilbee and Bandit.
Hello. Well, it's just me. Bandit's not here.
Yes, Bandit will be here shortly, hopefully. If not, we're just gonna strive on here on this fine Sunday evening.
Yeah, either way, let's boo-boo.
Let's boo-boo. Let's boo-boo. We called her the Beast because she was pretty hairy. All right, yeah, so for starters, today's podcast is going to be all about the Cornetto Trilogy, going through that awesomeness that those movies are. Time codes listed below if you want to jump right to that. Also by going over your listener questions and some movie news. Trilbee, how have you been?
I've been ill. I've been very ill and all full of cold and busy and working, which is not a great combination. No Film Brits podcast last week because I was just very ill. Tried recording, couldn't get through 15 minutes without dying. So I thought it's best not to die on camera or on microphone. That would be very unprofessional. So figured just postpone it a week. So that should be fun anyway. Just currently started work on a studio game show, and that was fun today. It was basically an entirely new crew because we're doing Series 2.
Jeopardy?
I wish it was Jeopardy, but it's an almost entirely new crew, so everyone's like, okay, so what did we do last year? Well, what did we do? And there's just me saying, I don't even remember last week, let alone last series. So that's been fun.
So you worked on the show last year, and then now you're back, but you're working with all new people.
Yeah, it's a mostly new team. Yeah, so that's fun. No pressure.
Yeah. Speaking of Jeopardy, SNL released this sketch, Black Jeopardy. They did and it was Leslie Jones, typical. Everyone, and it was like Jeopardy with a black host and everything, and then their guest star was like this guy was Tom Hanks, and he played this like redneck named Doug. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, check out Black Jeopardy SNL. It's really, really funny, and you will be quoting that for at least a week, I promise you. I've done literally nothing. I think did I do something important last week?
Can't have been that important.
I'm trying to think if that was last week or the week before. I'm pretty sure it was last week. I had an orchestra concert. That was pretty. I don't know if I told you this about this. I have an orchestra, right? And so this like I said, time goes to spell. This is the part of the show where we tell everyone about our week. I'm president of my orchestra organization, and so I have to make sure that the concerts run smoothly, and I'm getting ready to go up on stage and speak and tell everybody, thanks for coming, have a good night. I hope you enjoy the show. And one of the other officers they come up to me and they said, Trey, why are there so many people in the hallway? I'm like, and I look over there, and like half the orchestra's missing from the auditorium. They're all just chilling in the hallway. And so I had to go over there and play babysitter because apparently these usually functional 16-year-olds decide that they just wanted to be 8 or 5-year-olds and chill in the hallway and talk and converse among themselves when the concert starts in 3 minutes. But yeah, that was a stressful day. And then the day after that, I got inducted into the National Honor Society, which is kind of cool. That's kind of cool, I guess.
Yeah.
That's academics.
Fun times. Well, what instrument do you play again? Which one's that?
The violin.
Takes me back to I used to play violin, grade 5. Then I stopped.
Yeah, 11 years old. Then I smashed it.
Yes. It
could not.
It literally exploded in my hands. My violin did. So that's a story for another time.
The Galaxy 7-stringed. Yes. It's like that scene in Whiplash where you just get so heavy you start punching it.
Oh yeah.
Like in 12 Years a Slave when he just like breaks it apart. It's just like that, except context. I just remembered also, and I also went to a party on Saturday, and I remember what I did, and so like I'm slurring my words because this is what Tired Trey sounds like, and I've done like the last 4 podcasts as Tired Trey, and it's kind of irritating.
It's like if there was if the Movie Mania podcast had its own Funko Pop line, Tired Trey would be his own version.
Exactly. My friends like to call it 3 a.m. Trey because I start getting really philosophical and like really insightful at like 3 a.m. Like I like every time we stay up late, like they see like when 3 a.m. hits, I suddenly just go from being usual stuff to being like this really like wigged out, obviously acting like he's high Trey.
Is it kind of like in The World's End, how when everyone gets tired and drunk, they become better fighters?
Exactly. I'm like, oh, I see. I think it's because I always do things on Saturday, so I always end up staying up really late. Like yesterday, I stayed up really late, and then I went out. I drove like 2 hours to a friend. I didn't drive myself, but I went for 2 hours to a friend. We're gonna get to moving essential. I want to finish my story. We went up for like 2 hours drive to a friend's place for a party for Halloween, and then I drove. Me and my family drove 2 hours back here, and then I didn't get any sleep, and I hopped into the podcast, and so I'm tired. And so it's 3 a.m. Trey. Okay, that being said, Trilbee, let's get to the movie news.
Let's do it, but leave the light on, good lady, for though we may return with a twinkle in our eyes, we will be in truth blind. Drunk!
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. Cannonball!
Okay, Trilbee, this is the movie news portion of the show. There it is. It's portion of wouldn't it be something if we left all these flubs in as a theme since we're talking about the Cornetto Trilogy?
Look at you, Trey, just drunk, drinking rain.
Yeah, this is the movie news portion of the show in which case we talk about the movie news that occurred over the course of last week. Not a lot to discuss here, but something you're going to appreciate. Friday the 13th. That reboot's still trying to happen.
Yeah.
Some of the producers, including those at Platinum Dunes, they said that the remake is to be a period piece set in Georgia.
Okay. How period are we talking here? Are we talking 100 years, 200 years?
Honestly, I do not know. Did not look further into it than that, I'll be honest.
Okay, because period could be, in my mind, is anything from, say, the 1980s backwards. Or are we going to have, like, Jason in Downton Abbey? Like, Maggie Smith is there, like, oh, hello, Jason! Ah!
My thought was, like, Civil War era Jason. Of you could have, like the Confederate States Jason, where maybe some campers or whatever, or some soldiers are out and about, and then they're being hunted down by like Predator, but with Jason.
So are you saying that Jason Voorhees freed the slaves? Is this the conclusion
and
that
that
we're
way
coming to?
We'd be on Jason's side because it's or it could be a group of Union soldiers who are fighting for the North, and then they get stranded in the South. Fighting behind enemy lines, and Jason Voorhees happens to also be there.
Yeah.
So now not only do they have to fend off the Confederate soldiers, they have to now fend off Jason Voorhees, who they've just pissed off.
Okay.
It's Halloween.
It's an interesting approach, because I've found the news story, and all they say is period piece. They don't specify anything, it's really vague. It kind of makes sense, because the last time we saw Jason on his own, apart from the Platinum Dunes reboot, was in space. So, what's the exact opposite of space? The past, I'm guessing. So,
okay.
So
yes, yeah. Space is the final frontier.
Yeah. So, if you're gonna, are they gonna like completely commit to the continuity and just say, you know what, Jason just went back in time? Like, it's not just the fact that he's in the past. He actually goes there, and he meets lots of interesting people, and then kills them, like Deadpool.
Well, my plot of the Terminator, if I ever do a Terminator movie, my plot would be the Terminators were sent back in time. And I got this from that How It Should Have Ended sketch. Have you ever seen the How Terminator Should Have Ended?
I think I have, yeah.
And it's like, we have to kill the creator of time travel. And like they go to, and they find like Emmett Brown, like they found Doc Brown.
Yes, I remember.
And I'm like, that'd be a great idea. Like taking the Back to the Future element out of it. Terminator could just be they have to kill the creator of time travel. Like John Connor decides to kill the creator of time travel, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, for this
random thought.
For this Friday the 13th, they were planning to release it January 13th, 2017. Obviously, it's not going to make that date, so now they're going to push it back to October 2017, Friday the 13th, because there's only two Friday the 13th in 2017.
18th birthday? What? Oh, sorry.
So, and it also means that it should be coming out the same month as the Halloween reboot with John Carpenter attached. So that will be an interesting
terrible idea.
month.
That's a terrible idea. to release Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers in the same month. That's a horrible idea.
But no, it's kind of got to be done because you have to release a Halloween movie around Halloween, and you have to release a Friday the 13th movie on Friday the 13th, and there are only 2 Friday the 13th next year. No, it's the law. It's the law, Trey. It's the law. Do you want anarchy and chaos? I am law and order, Trey. I will give Halloween and Friday the 13th the proper release dates.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's a guilty pleasure franchise, so let's see what they can do with it.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. All right, Trilbee, let me ask you this. Which one are you more excited for at this point in time? Toy Story 4 or The Incredibles 2?
Incredibles 2, because I think Toy Story is kind of done. But we'll see how it goes. I'm optimistic.
Okay, good. Well, because before we get into this, really, let me throw this out there. Because when they first announced Toy Story 4 at that big D23 conference last year, I kind of made a video because everyone was like losing their mind of like, leave it alone. Toy Story 3 was perfect. And I said, well, you know, I give hope. We got Andrew Stanton, John Lasseter are working on it. This can be a good idea. And I love the plot they have working out about Woody trying to find Bo Peep. That's a beautiful idea. Anyways, point being, Toy Story 4 was originally supposed to come out June of 2018 because next year we're getting Cars 2.
Yay!
And Coco, which I think is from what's his face, not Pete Docter, but somebody else, someone else in the Disney, in the Pixar film. I think it's the guy that Toy Story 3 about the Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos. That's the worst pronunciation of that phrase ever. And so those two come out next year, and then in 2018 we were supposed to be getting Toy Story 4, and then in 2019 we were supposed to get Incredibles 2. Those dates have now been switched, with Incredibles 2 now set to come out in summer of 2018, and Toy Story 4 coming out the following year. So what do you think about that, Trilbee?
Did they cite a reason for the change in dates, or?
I think they said production was they were really starting to kick it into high gear production wise, and I think that proves that they really want to get Incredibles 2 out there. I think Finding Dory showed, because Finding Dory hit $1 billion, right? So I think it shows that they're looking to do sequels to long awaited sequels to movies. I think out of all the films they've done, Incredibles is the one that everyone's kind of wanted a sequel to.
Yeah.
Unless your name is Sam Gavin.
Yeah, you're right. Finding Dory did make $1 billion. I didn't even notice that happened.
Yeah, it made $1 billion. Yeah, secretly, Finding Dory went out there and made $1 billion.
We weren't even looking, and it made $1 billion. But yeah, I think this is good news. I think because I think Incredibles 2 is the one that generally fans are most anticipating. We get it a bit sooner. Yeah. They're clearly confident that they can get it out in time, because I don't think, apart from The Good Dinosaur, Pixar don't really have a habit of delaying films.
Yeah,
so,
and I still like The Good Dinosaur. I still really enjoyed that one.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if
it's got its merits. There's a couple of good things about it, but I don't think it's...
Don't patronize it that bad, Trilbee. It's not that bad.
Oh, Good Dinosaur. Who's a good dinosaur? But yeah, I think the film Toy Story 4, if they're going to make it, I'm still going to be first in line to watch it. I'll be there opening day. I'll be there, tub of popcorn with my massive DVD collection and my toy collection of toys that I've grown up with, and we'll go watch it together and have an awesome time and probably cry. But I think Incredibles 2, there's so much more to be mined from that universe, and there's so many potential stories they can mine from this universe and these characters. I'm really looking forward to it, and the fact that we get it earlier, that's good news for me as far as I'm concerned. So.
Well, two things about this whole ordeal is that, one, Brad Bird needs this, because say what you want about Tomorrowland, it wasn't a success critically or financially. Yes. There you go. Thank you. 3 a.m. train.
Yeah, it was financially. It was the biggest box office bomb of last summer.
Which is a shame, because Brad Bird's a very talented filmmaker, and he didn't do Star Wars because he wanted to do Tomorrowland. And that's why, further proves my point, that's why I think Disney really wanted Episode 7 to be a remake of Episode 4, because why else would you get someone who's prone to making movies about the past? Anyways, so I just think he needs this, because Tomorrowland was not a very good film, and I think it really soured my taste in Brad Bird and the name Brad Bird, because I was so hyped for Tomorrowland, because he had not made a bad film yet. And then he just... Because Ratatouille was Ratatouille and Incredibles are some of my all-time favorite movies. And so to see him just fall from grace that hard, now to see him come back and hopefully return to form in the animation department, yeah.
Well, Brad Bird did Mission Impossible 4, didn't he?
Yes, which is essentially a live-action cartoon.
Yeah, well, I think that's the best Mission Impossible film, and even though I liked Ghost Protocol, it feels like... Oh, no, Ghost Protocol was his. Rogue Nation was the latest one. Even though that was a good film, I just really felt the loss of Brad Bird. I felt like he brought so much to that franchise. And I think the issues with Tomorrowland...
Brad Bird was the issue
with Tomorrowland is that it's got Damon Lindelof's fingerprints all over it. I think he is the issue with that film, and not necessarily Brad Bird. I think he directed the hell out of it. It was just that script and that Lindelof approach that just does not work. I've been burned so many times by Lindelof, and I just kind of got sick of it by Tomorrowland. So I hope he can make it in live action again.
Yes. And also, do you think Incredibles 2? Am I the only one that wants the sequel to not be set in real time, like not to be set 14 years later? I kind of just wanted to, because I just wanted to kind of pull a Finding Dory and just have it set 6 months or so later, maybe. Or just maybe immediately after the first one ends. Yeah,
Incredibles was like 12 years ago, wasn't it? I'd like to see maybe a jump of a year or two. Like Dash and Violet are a little bit older, because when you're young, because it's mainly the kids who I want to see grow up, that it's more interesting being in that awkward growing up phase. Like if you see them 12 years from when the movie came out, like Dash would be like 22 years old. I don't think that's as interesting. I think maybe a 14-year-old Dash or a 17-year-old Violet or a 3-year-old Jack, I think that's more interesting than aging them up significantly.
Yes. I'm interested to see if they do the How to Train Your Dragon 2 approach, where they go really mature with the sequel, because the first Incredibles is a very dialogue heavy, very for that first half it has a very slower pace to it, at least for that first half before things really get going. And I think that's why I love that movie so much. And so, but with How to Train Your Dragon 2 really took the whole fun aspect of that first film that I love so much and really brought it to a more serious and many ways grounded level. And they went. I don't know if you've seen the sequel, How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, and I think it's a film that gets better with every watch. I just wasn't ready for it to be so different than the first film. That really took me off guard because I love the first movie. And I do think that they go places. When they spoilers, when they kill Stoic, you don't think that animated movies can do that anymore. They went full Lion King on it.
I cry every time.
It was really intense to have to have Toothless just straight up kill Stoic on screen. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. And so I wonder if maybe you have the sequel, because if they really wanted to, they can make this a trilogy. I'm just saying. So you can have it say, I don't know, have the second one have the parents die in that, and then maybe have the third one have the kids then be adults, and now maybe have the kids of their own.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what the sequel's going to be.
But see, The Incredibles, the first one, ended with heroes being more accepted and out in the open, and I think it would be just a waste of that potential to just cut 10, 12 years later. I think maybe something more recent, maybe there is fallout from everything that happened during the events of the first film. I don't know, but I think Pixar have proved with Toy Story and also Finding Dory that they can do both approaches. They can do a movie that is able to, where the characters grow in real time with the audience, or do a film when it's only a minor progression in time, and we're able to pick up almost right where they left off. I think they're able to do both.
Can we also briefly touch on how mature Toy Story 3 is as a film? I went back and rewatched that film about a couple weeks ago, and my God, like that scene, I just look at that scene where Andy's mom leaves them on the curb or whatever, and they have that huge debate, and everyone's getting physically upset because they think they're being thrown away. What a powerful scene, anyways.
And it's basically got one of the most traumatic on-screen versions of hell that I've ever seen.
Oh, yes. Right on. Oh, my God.
Because that is toy hell, basically.
Yes.
That furnace and that scene that is almost dialogue-free. And they just...
Yes.
They're resigned to their fate, and then the aliens come in, and it's amazing. Oh, I cry every time.
I think it was... it was Bullseye. I think it was it was either Bullseye or Woody, and they're he's trying to get away, and then he stops, and it cuts to Buzz's hand, and Buzz holds out his hand, and they all just hold hands. I'm just like, what are you doing to me, Pixar? Why are you doing this to me?
It's powerful stuff. It's genuinely great.
And then the allegory of they're about to burn in hell, and the glowing light from above rescues them. Really, anyways. Continuing on. So J.J. Abrams has revealed that his newest film that he's producing, God Particle, which is a sci-fi film set in space about altered realities and whatnot, featuring Chris O'Dowd, by the way. I don't know if you're a fan of him.
He's pretty cool.
He's a pretty funny guy. It's going to be the third film in the Cloverfield franchise. So they didn't necessarily swindle us this time, like they did with 10 Cloverfield Lane. My question is if they're going to change the title. Have you heard about this at all, this movie God Particle?
I've heard that there was going to be a third Cloverfield film, but I don't know much about this one, this God Particle film. They probably would change the title, because you need that branding, or you need that sort of attachment to the previous films. But I'm glad that 10 Cloverfield Lane was, despite it being such a drastic change from the first film, I thought it was so much better, and I think the fact that it was successful shows that you can have this anthology series play out in these feature films. Like Black Mirror has been a big success on Netflix, and that's an anthology. Anthologies are the cool, hip thing to do right now, and I'm so glad that Paramount have taken the plunge with this, because 10 Cloverfield Lane is like one of the only 2 or 3 films that they've had be a success this year, because they've done terribly financially in 2016, and 10 Cloverfield Lane was one of their few unqualified successes. So I'm glad that they're following this franchise, especially since 10 Cloverfield Lane was so much better than the first one.
Yeah, and apparently this one, I'm going to read you the synopsis here. It's about a shocking discovery forces a team of astronauts aboard a space station to fight for survival while their reality has been altered, which apparently, I'm guessing it's going to be set in space, and I suppose the connection in Cloverfield's going to be maybe they have to try to escape to an escape pod while one of the aliens have made it to the way on the ship, maybe something like an Alien kind of style film, like a slasher. Which I think would be a great, but the title God Particle makes me think it's going to be something a bit more cerebral, a bit more sci-fi intense. But I'm really excited that they're keeping this going, this whole Cloverfield thing, because I loved 10 Cloverfield Lane. It was such a departure from what the first film was, and I really enjoyed that first film too. And I think that as Chris O'Dowd, David Oyelowo, who you might know from Selma, this is looking to be a quite an impressive film. It comes out in February. So.
This is an awesome cast: Daniel Bruhl, Elizabeth
Debicki,
I
was about to say Daniel Bruhl,
Gugu Mbatha-Raw, Chris O'Dowd. It's a really great cast, actually.
Yeah.
And if it's going to be set in space, it seems like it's going to get an IMAX release as well. This looks like it could be the most ambitious.
Yes! I didn't even notice that. IMAX, I'm down. Yes. Right on.
It looks like we've got it might hurt the fact that this comes out 2 months after Passengers. Maybe they might seem a bit too similar. Hopefully they'll be able to differentiate it with the marketing. But we'll see how it goes.
That depends on how good Passengers is. Because if Passengers sucks, and you're right, that might hurt it. But if it's good, then people are gonna be like, oh yeah, it was like Passengers. Yeah. But yeah, I wanted to touch on that. The whole J.J. Abrams it's now a Cloverfield film, which really excites me. Which proves that I'm just happy they're not going to use Cloverfield to manipulate audiences anymore, which I'm happy about. And hopefully we can just get good films that happen to be set in the universe of Cloverfield. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, like, speaking of 10 Cloverfield Lane and director Dan Trachtenberg, have you seen any of Black Mirror, the new series?
No. No. I've never seen the show.
Okay, I've only seen one episode of series 3, and for some reason I saw episode 2, even though I hadn't even started watching episode 1. For some reason Netflix was like, no, you're watching this episode first, and it was directed by Dan Trachtenberg. He can do horror really well. I want to see him just do a flat-out horror film now.
Okay.
So, because he's not directing this new one, God Particle, so hopefully he'll move on to something just as interesting. I just thought I'd bring that up.
It's a black director doing God Particle, which kind of excites me. Maybe we'll have the black people live this time. Probably not. But this next one might make you smile. Wes Anderson is to direct a new stop-motion animated film about dogs.
Go on.
That's literally all I know. You're usually the one that looks more into this.
Oh.
I know he's gonna have more of his usual cast. I believe Jeff Goldblum's gonna be in it as well. Yeah, so Wes Anderson's a very talented filmmaker, and I loved what he did with Fantastic Mr. Fox. That's a great film. It's a very good-looking stop-motion animated film. It's a very obvious stop-motion animated film. It's not something like Kubo where you're immersed in the world. You just kind of have to sit back and admire, and you kind of realize how perfect stop-motion is for Wes Anderson. Yeah.
You know what I want to see? If it's about dogs, I want to see Wes Anderson used taxidermy puppets. Real life dogs.
Oh, snap. He might.
Because it looks like he used real fur on Fantastic Mr. Fox. They looked quite
Yeah,
convincing.
that's what I'm saying. They looked exactly like I'm like, that's real fur.
Real dog corpses.
Oh, man.
Happy
No animals were
Halloween,
harmed,
everybody.
Are you sure? No animals were harmed, but are you sure about that?
They're already dead.
All right, so yeah, I just wanted to briefly touch on that. But if that's all you have to comment on that, I think it's time to get to the homework.
Yes.
This week, each one of you has a homework assignment.
Your homework is to listen to some real music, get inspired.
Is this your homework, Larry?
Down with homework?
Okay, guys, this is the homework portion of the show in which we talk about the films we were either assigned to see or just saw on our own. Trilbee, I didn't see anything, so why don't you go on ahead?
I saw Doctor Strange.
You lucky son of
a... For those of you who do not know or are not part of the MCU cult, which is awesome, you should totally join one of us. This is the...
It's not a cult. That sounds like something someone in a cult would say.
Yeah,
It's not a
it
cult.
is the 14th film of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the first Doctor Strange movie. It is Phase 3. About half.
Yeah. Water's wet. How's the movie, Trilbee?
A stalling tactic. Film's really good. It's probably one of the better individual solo films. It's because it's weird because you get so many of these event films with like you get Captain America: Civil War, you get Avengers, and you get these bigger group ensemble films like Guardians of the Galaxy. So it feels good that it's taken a similar approach to Ant-Man, where it feels much more self-contained, even though the scope and the scale of the film is absolutely massive, although, because they're dealing with different realities and different planes and all of this mumbo-jumbo stuff that is very well explained in the film and makes a lot more sense than I'm probably giving it credit for.
Dude, I'm glad they explained it, because when I went and saw the preview I got to see, they kind of just showed things.
Yeah.
I'm happy they explained it,
Yeah, there's a lot of trippy, incredibly strange and
Hashtag hands on hands. Hashtag hands on hands.
Hashtag hands on hands, yeah. I give it 8 hands on hands out of 10. It's just so much math, so many fingers. Cumberbatch absolutely kills it.
That's what she said. I'm sorry, I'm done. You keep going. I'm sorry.
Cumberbatch absolutely kills it. I think he's really great. Chiwetel Ejiofor is probably... because Mordo in the comics is quite a complex character in terms of anti-heroes, and getting an incredible actor like Chiwetel Ejiofor to portray him is just icing on the cake, and I'm so glad that... I'm not going to say what happens at the end of the film, but I'm so glad that he is going to be in the future of the MCU for hopefully quite a long time.
You might as well have just said what happens at the end of the... Thank you, Trilbee.
I'm going to say what happens at the end. A character from the movie is going to be in a future movie. What a spoiler. I think that if there's issues with this film, it's probably issues that have been present since the beginning of the MCU. Like, I think
Does the villain suck?
The villain, he doesn't suck, but he's so bland, and it's more frustrating because we've got Mads frickin' Mikkelsen.
It's Mads Mikkelsen.
If you're gonna just completely waste an incredible, like, a potentially awesome villain, just get a pants actor to play him. Don't get Mads Mikkelsen and tease us.
Taylor Lautner was right there.
Just imagine Robert Pattinson playing the villain in Doctor Strange. That would have been weird.
Robert Pattinson is a talented man, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
See the Rover.
But we've also got Rachel McAdams as the love interest, and while I see what they're going for with her character, I just think she's still just a pretty bland love interest. I think she's kind of up there, like she's down there on the scale with, say, Natalie Portman. Like, she's
Jane Foster bad?
She's trying. I can't even say she's bad. They really got to give these characters something more to do.
My question to you now is, because at least with every solo individual Marvel flick, even going into the sequels, like with the Winter Soldier, they each kind of have their own feel to it.
Yeah.
Like style wise, like Kenneth Branagh really brought his own Shakespearean, lots of Dutch angles and sweeping shots. With the Thor, the Russo brothers brought this really grounded, really almost quiet kind of gray green hues to Winter Soldier, and Peyton Reed working with what Edgar Wright and Adam McKay and all those guys was a lot of stylized action, a lot of CG, a lot of special effects. So what is how does Scott Derrickson have a specific style that he gives to this film?
It's hard to say if this is a Scott Derrickson film because it's so different from what he's done before, like Sinister or Deliver Us from Evil. It's very different from those type of those are pure horror films. Whereas this is obviously a fantastical MCU 14th installment movie, but he fits the style. The humor is down pat with what you'd expect from Marvel films. It's very entertaining. You had some concerns with there being rewrites for, was it a Gravity Falls writer or was it a
Dan
Rick and
Harmon?
Morty? Rick and Morty
well,
writer?
both actually.
Yes.
Both,
okay.
yeah.
Well, if that was the case and he had to do some punch-up dialogue and they had to refilm some stuff, you can't tell. It's quite...
Really?
You can't tell what is a reshoot scene and what is a normal scene.
Okay, because I heard the humor was kind of half and half, so I figured that might have played a part into it. Okay.
No, but it seems to fit in quite naturally and really well. Surprisingly, one of the funniest characters is actually Benedict Wong as Wong. He's really funny in the film. So much deadpan humor.
I saw they showed us the scene, or they showed us clips from the scene when he first goes into the library.
Yeah,
and he meets the Wong character. Yeah.
They have a lot of fun with that character. He's a lot of fun. If it's weird because I don't really know if this is a Scott Derrickson film, but he's able to just fit in with the MCU really well. The action scenes. It's so weird because maybe with the first action scene, I was thinking, you know what, maybe my expectations were a bit too high because we just had Captain America: Civil War, and that had some of the best fight scenes like in recent memory, let alone some of the best action scenes of the MCU.
Yes.
And then Doctor Strange just kept on upping the ante and getting more inventive, getting more out there, and it gets so
without
trippy.
Spoiling anything.
Yeah,
it's because I've only seen again like 15 minutes of the film, and I like without spoiling anything, when someone's being chased and the way to try to catch that person is flipping a building upside down. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're watching that screen, you're just like, what am I mean, maybe that's not how it works, the context of the actual story, but what I saw from on screen did you see it in IMAX, by the way? I don't know if they have IMAX in England.
I did not see it in IMAX. Okay. They do have IMAX in England, but I've only ever seen 2 films in IMAX, Deadpool and Gravity.
Oh, wow, you lucky... Oh, Gravity. Seeing Gravity IMAX must have been something truly special.
Not when you're on the 3rd row.
There you go. Never mind.
The screen is too big.
Yes, and there's a lot of spinning angles in that movie.
There is.
And it's in 3D.
I was also just surprised at how great Tilda Swinton was. Like, I understand people are understandably upset that they've whitewashed the role, but... She's really great in the film. Like, if you completely erase that context and just watch her as a performance, she's one of the most awesome badasses of the MCU. I think that the film maybe relies a bit too much on stunt doubles because they've got these monks who have got hoods on, and whenever they're wearing hoods, you're like, oh, that's not Tilda Swinton, that's her stunt double. That's not Chiwetel Ejiofor, that's her stunt double.
When you watch The Hobbit, you watch Lord of the Rings, and suddenly like they just keep shooting Gandalf from the back, taking all these guys. I'm like, well, that's clearly not. That's clearly a 30-year-old guy pretending to be Christopher Lee.
Yeah,
right on. Yeah.
But I think what this movie's Groot is the cloak of levitation.
Yes.
That thing has
so
a personality.
It is like the carpet from Aladdin. That's what I'm hearing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a really great comparison because I won't spoil it, but the cloak starts doing something, and then there's a scene in a different location for about 10 minutes. He comes back, and the cloak is still doing the thing, and it's so funny. It's really great. But it's just one other thing I noted is that in terms of being a film about metaphors, I think that Doctor Strange is one of the best examples of the MCU because it's a film ultimately about failure. It's a film about coming to terms with failure or being willing to accept the risk of failure in doing what needs to be done. Because we've got a character who he's a surgeon, but he won't even take certain cases because he doesn't want to fail. He doesn't want to botch the surgery, and that ruins his reputation. And in terms of what the film does with that metaphor and that character arc, it's actually a really clever realization, particularly how he wins the day or how he loses the day or whatever you want to interpret it as. So it's a really interesting way to interpret a character arc, and I just can't wait to see how Doctor Strange plays in the MCU going forward. And I won't spoil I'll give any specifics, but I think the first post-credit scene is similar to Ant-Man.
Careful, Trilbee. Careful, Trilbee.
I think it's similar to Ant-Man in that I think it's a scene from a future movie. I don't think it's a scene that's specifically done for this film. I think it's a scene from it, like at the end of Ant-Man, it's the scene when the Winter Soldier's got his arm trapped in the machine and they're trying to talk to him.
Okay.
I think
right.
the first post-credit scene is from a future movie. I won't say which one or what's happening. I just think that's the case.
I've got a couple of ideas. I'm just saying, there's only like 3 movies that are shooting right now from the MCU or have been shot, so I have a couple of ideas.
My lips are sealed.
Thank you.
But yeah, I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay, thank you, Trilbee. All right, and you didn't see anything else?
I probably did. Oh, yes, I did. I saw my Scientology movie.
Okay, well, hold on. Before we jump into that,
Okay.
if you want to jump into
That's
that,
a cult movie.
How about that? I am really hyped for Doctor Strange. I'm seeing it Tuesday. It's interesting because the Rotten Tomatoes score, I think it's set at like a 93 right now on Rotten Tomatoes, and yet I've heard mixed to positive reactions from everyone who has seen it already, and I'm like, okay, yeah.
Because the thing with Rotten Tomatoes is that it counts a 3-star review is a fresh review, and that goes towards the tomato meter. I think Doctor Strange is a film that's so fundamentally solid in its structure, in its approach, in its performances, and its action, that there's not really much to take offence with or to take umbrage with. So even people who are just middling, there's enough middling people leaning on the positive
to like it,
to bump up that tomato meter.
Okay,
so
I might take a look at the actual average and see what the actual average from all the reviews might be, because I think that might be more towards the 7s.
It's not as good as Iron Man or Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's more in line with, say, Captain America, the First Avenger, or the first 4.
Yeah, I think that's where we need to really. I think that's a good way to look into the film, is to say, every film is not going to be Guardians of the Galaxy or Civil War. Like, yeah, not everyone's going to be a damn near 10 out of 10 film. Sometimes you're just gonna get an 8. That's how I kind of felt with Ant-Man. So yeah, all right. Well, then about this whole Scientology thing.
Yes, have you heard of Louis Theroux?
Yes. No. Tell me.
Which one is it? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, he's a documentary filmmaker. He predominantly does stuff for the BBC. Most of his filmography is on Netflix, where you can marathon it very easily. He's a really weird, understated British guy. He's quintessentially British and awkward. And his approach to documentary filmmaking is, okay, I'm going to do a subject about, say, the drug industry or like drug dealers, and I'm just going to interview drug dealers, say next to nothing, but for some reason they'll open up everything to me. For some reason I'm just so approachable that they'll just tell me everything. And that's kind of his documentary approach. So the movie opens with him sending a tweet saying, can I interview some members of Scientology because I'm doing a documentary about Scientology. And what happened is that nobody got back to him. Nobody wanted to talk to him about Scientology, with the exception of like 2 or 3 people who left the religion, who left the cult or the movement or whatever you want to call it, and seemed to have an axe to grind. And because he is unable to interview anybody currently part of Scientology, he has to make recreations based on what these people who he's working with have told him about David Miscavige, who is the current leader of Scientology. It's an interesting approach, it's quirky and it's fun, but it feels like an incomplete movie, because he's not able to... Louis Theroux's really good at getting balanced arguments, but it's completely one-sided in favour of these people who he's working with. Understandably so, because the people who work at Scientology refuse to speak to him, and in fact they stalk him and they follow him and they try to respond to his documentary by making a documentary about him. Which is really that he's on a public road, like just across the road from where the main Scientology base is, and they've got a huge film studio. He's across the road on a public road, and then they just come out to him with their own camera crew, filming the Scientology building. It's a really weird and creepy circumstance to be under.
I'm interested with all these documentaries because documentaries, especially those that have a message and have something to say. And I think that's why films like, Spinal Tap or What We Do in the Shadows work so well, because they're taking the documentary form and they're using it to tell a story. But with actual legitimate documentaries like this, it's like you said, it's always very hard to see and sit there and watch and try to understand if you're getting all the facts or if you're getting things from a very skewed perspective because of like to take things out of context, Blackfish, for example, the SeaWorld documentary, true things that occurred, but I had to do some very not scrutinous but very intensive research after that to confirm that what was happening at SeaWorld was entirely true, because if you're not careful, you're going to watch a documentary, like you said, that is one-sided, that is incredibly biased, that's going to tell a story from one perspective and make it seem like this is completely a 110% bad thing. What I liked about a documentary like Blackfish is that they didn't completely crap on SeaWorld. They didn't make it look great, but they still established that there is a relationship that people make with the animals, and there's a reason that it's there. Yeah. But at the same time, it's not the way you should treat the whales. But going back to that actual Scientology documentary, the way you were describing it made me think about how every time I watch a documentary, I have to research the hell of it afterwards to make sure that I'm not watching a propaganda flick, essentially.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it also is strange because it's 100 minutes long, and what happens is that towards the end of the film, something very personal happens to one of the people who he's working with to make this documentary, and then you think, okay, now these guys are out for blood. This is now they're going to properly investigate and they're going to try and get access, and then the movie ends. It feels like an incomplete film because it's starting from only viewing one side of the story, and then it ends before it gets interesting. And they just thought, okay, look, we've got this documentary, it's half finished, let's just cut our losses and release it. It kind of feels like an underthought film, but maybe by necessity, because he tried to reach out to Scientologists, they wouldn't let him in, and it feels like a movie
maybe
where...
it would have been better if he tried to get himself indoctrinated into the cult itself. Like, maybe he made a documentary about him trying to get into Scientology.
Maybe, but that would be incredibly risky, because what happens is that when you are a member of Scientology, they make you sign certain things and pay certain costs, and it's incredibly expensive to be a member of Scientology. And also, if you try to leave, because in America there's like religious freedoms, like in certain states you are allowed to, for example, discriminate against a gay couple if they want to have a wedding cake. Like there's stories like that all the time in certain states. There's
bullshit.
What? As in it's bullshit that they do that, or you're not allowed to do that?
No. You are allowed to do that. That happens all the time. Yeah. It's malarkey that it happens though.
And what happens is that under that protection of religious freedom, there's one law in Scientology saying that if you feel threatened or if you feel justified, you can hurt or kill someone. So if someone tries to leave your religion, you can legally kill them. So maybe it's a bit too dangerous to leave Scientology. And if you do that, they'll try and ruin your life and bankrupt you and stalk you and destroy your social circle and stuff. So maybe it's not a risk worth taking for just a small, low-budget BBC documentary. I don't know, but it just feels like Louis Theroux and Scientology should be a match made in heaven for interesting and a compelling documentary. But as it is right now, it just feels half done. I'm almost expecting Louis Theroux to start up a Indiegogo or a Kickstarter saying, hey, we're going to make the second half of my Scientology movie.
What's the documentary called?
It's called My Scientology Movie.
Okay.
And you can watch it on the... I watched it on We Are Colony, which is like a UK-based independent streaming service, and I'd been a member for a year, so I got a free film rental. So I used the free rental for this.
Okay.
So,
right on.
Yeah, it's I can't tell you to not watch it. It's interesting, but it doesn't really teach you anything about Scientology. If you want to learn about Scientology, watch the South Park episode, because that's a pretty concise and accurate description of what Scientologists believe. You kind of need to have that base understanding in order to really get into My Scientology Movie. But it was okay, and I'm glad I saw it, but I was quite let down by it, to be honest.
Yeah, okay. Well, then I won't check it out. But that does sound interesting. And again, now that you know my opinion on documentaries, I think it's something that I do want to take a look at. Okay. Well, then that being said, Trilogy, would you like anything from the shop?
Did you call me? You called me Trilogy.
Did I really?
Okay, right. Clearly, you are not in a fit state to podcast. So you know what we'll do? What we'll do is that we'll have a Bloody Mary first thing. We'll have a bite at the king's head. A couple of little princesses stagger back here, and bang! back to the bar for shots. How's that for a slice of fried gold?
I don't even know which one that's from.
Shaun of the Dead. Let's get going.
Let's boo-boo. Feature presentation.
And now, our feature presentation.
So, Trilbee, you want anything from the shop?
Cornetto.
Ha! Woo! All right, guys, we were finally talking to this. We've been talking. People wanting to do this like for a long time. It's like this and the Dollar Trilogy for like talk about this trilogy. People have wanted to do this for a long time. So we're finally doing it. The Cornetto Trilogy, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, World's End. Trilbee, these are your movies. I'll let you start.
Okay, well, I'm guessing we're going to start with Shaun of the Dead, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can just do general thoughts on how you feel about the trilogy as a whole.
General thoughts. If you could make the arguments that this is a proper trilogy, like as in it qualifies to be in the discussion of, say, like Lord of the Rings or Godfather or Star Wars, like it's that type of trilogy. Yeah. If you consider it like that, I think this is one of the best trilogies of all time. Because in my mind, we've got a 10 out of 10 film, a 9 out of 10 film, and another 10 out of 10 film. Like, only, say, Toy Story or Lord of the Rings has that type of consistent track record.
I don't know. Toy Story 2 is pretty trash. Sorry, just my opinion. And hey, I rewatched it too. Nope, can't do it.
Right in the childhood.
But, hey man, I was born a month before the movie came out. Don't talk to me about childhood. I literally grew up with Toy Story 2. Yeah,
that is scary. But yeah, Edgar Wright is... It's kind of the main thing he's known for. He's also done Scott Pilgrim, but...
Another good flick, yeah.
Yeah, these 3 films are going to be his legacy, and what a legacy to have. And Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are consistently great across the board in all 3 of them. You've got a few recurring cast members like Martin Freeman and Bill Nighy, Patricia Franklin. I think they appear in all 3 films in small roles. And it's it's one of the best British-made trilogies. I think maybe one of the few British trilogies out there.
We called her the Beast because she was pretty hairy.
It's just so quotable. Like, and you don't even need context for many of them. Like, she's like butter. You don't even need like context for that. It's just funny.
Get back in your spaceship and fuck off, you cunt.
Fire off back to Legoland, you cunt.
Yeah, there it is. Go back to Legoland. Warning, there may be some vulgarity language as we quote these flicks.
There probably will.
Now.
And the films are surprisingly gory. And the Cornetto is just a very strange thing to hang a trilogy on, because there's a different flavour for each one. You've got Strawberry for Shaun of the Dead, you've got Original for Hot Fuzz, and Mint for The World's End. It's mainly just for the colours. But they're so incredibly polished. They've got some of the best screenplays in recent memory, probably like some of the best screenplays of the 21st century. Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg are just incredible writers. Like, Simon Pegg has also proven with Star Trek Beyond that he's not just a one-trick pony, that he is just a great storyteller. Edgar Wright's got, Baby Driver next year?
Yeah, coming out with John Hamm and what's-his-face? Someone else.
Yeah, cannot wait.
I think it's Ansel Elgort from Fault in Our Stars. That movie, that looks so... I'm so excited for that one,
Yeah, that only comes out in March. That's exciting.
I'm hyped.
Yes, and also, I just wish that Edgar Wright would work more. Like, he almost did Ant-Man, which was traumatic, the fact that he left, but whatever will be, I guess. And
I guarantee you it's because he didn't want to put Falcon in it. Promised you.
Do you think that's the reason?
I think that might be one of the main reasons, because I think the thing with Ant-Man is that he began on that film in 2006, so by the time he was able to start making the film, the MCU was a thing. You know, the MCU formed around him, and by the time he was there, he had no other choice but to leave, because he didn't want to make an MCU movie.
And I think that when you think of movies that teach you the fundamentals of filmmaking, or ones that you watch in film school, like Citizen Kane, or Lawrence of Arabia, or The Godfather, I think, watch the Cornetto Trilogy. It teaches you about great humour, great story structure, and just so many little aspects like character arcs, as well as foreshadowing, editing.
Yes.
and just
cinematography.
Just a wonderful handle on tone and atmosphere, and just making even some of the small supporting characters memorable. Like at the beginning of Hot Fuzz, I don't remember the characters' names, but you've got like Steve Coogan, Martin Freeman, these other weird smiling characters. Like, because he's at the desk and like, how's the hand?
Everybody in this mum has a gun. Like who? Farmers. Who else? Farmers' mums.
For some reason, because a quote that comes to mind is when Gary in The World's End, when Gary King, played by Simon Pegg, is in the toilet in the bathroom, and Steve's like, "Well, this must be a long piss. Like, if it is a piss, it might be a little what poo? How was that a poo?
How was that poo? King Gay."
Yes, it says Gary. It says King Gary. No, it says King Gay. No, it doesn't. Does it? But for those, you go.
I remember the world. No, I think because my sister was big into horror films growing up, which is why I guess I kind of love them now, because I never used to watch them because I used to get so scared. But it was Shaun of the Dead and Zombieland were the two horror films that I always watched with my sister. So even when I was like 5 or 6 years old, I would sit down and watch Shaun of the Dead, and I loved that movie with my sister. And then I went and saw World's End in theaters when it came out a couple of years ago. And I fell in love with that movie. That's one of my all-time favorite movies. I love that movie to death, and I still do. I'm so glad it holds up. That movie's so great. And then I ended up watching Hot Fuzz for the first time like a year or so ago. And going back and rewatching Hot Fuzz, I think Hot Fuzz may be. You say that you think World's End is the best made film. I think Hot Fuzz might be the best made film. World's End might be my favorite, but I think Shaun of the Dead holds a place in my heart nostalgia-wise.
Yeah.
Which is insane, because I think it's a franchise it's a trilogy that I think gets better with every installment. If you have my opinion, I especially love Hot Fuzz. To me, is like maybe the most quotable.
I think it's the funniest out of the three. Hot Fuzz is probably the funniest one.
But I feel like the World's End just has that spark to it, no pun intended, that really allows it to just keep going and building and building and building. And not to mention how ballsy is it to give away the plot of your movie in the first 90 seconds or whatever, in the first couple minutes. That opening montage mirrors what happens throughout the course of the entire movie. And that's insane to do that with a movie. That's so clever. But we can start talking about Shaun of the Dead if you want.
Well, I think Shaun of the Dead is... because it does follow the traditional zombie formula in like the zombies. We're not using the Z word.
I was gonna say we don't use the Z word. Was that a copyright issue, or did they just do that as a joke? Because that's pretty awesome. If they did it as a
because they've said they do say zombies at some point in the film, so it's not a copyright issue, but it's because they know that zombies exist in this in terms of fiction, and the fact that it's happening, and they're like, no, don't say that the Z word. This is ridiculous.
Oh man!
But yeah, because the zombies in Shaun of the Dead kind of represent just the humdrum, average, everyday life that Shaun is trying to escape from. Because Shaun is basically doomed to mediocrity. He's got a great girlfriend who just wants to explore and who just wants to do these things, but he's just content being at home with Ed. Just listening to music at 4 a.m, going to the Winchester every single day, because they do tie there now apparently, or something. I can't remember what he says, but yeah, they do food.
Oh yeah,
and he's just he's just content to be there with his friend Ed. And then once he decides, okay, I'm going to sort my life out, I'm going to get Liz back, I'm going to give up smoking, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to do all this, but the humdrum life is trying to just pull him back in, trying to make them one of them
he's
again.
Literally trying to eat him alive. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so it's a great metaphor in terms of just being a fitting inclusion into the zombie genre. But the fact that it's also got these great characters at the centre of it, like you remember David and Di, you remember Shaun and Liz and Ed and Pete, who is upstairs like, "Oi, prick!"
Yes. Oh man, it's like, "Oi, prick!" Yeah, he's not home.
And that's something we can all relate to as well. Like, like if you want to get someone's attention, just insult them, and if they don't respond, they're not there.
Yeah, and I think the film is so smart, and I think going back and rewatching it, because I think I rewatched it was Friday, and I was so impressed by how smart the film was and how well shot the film was. I'm not sure what the film's budget was. I presume it was rather low, considering it was the first in the trilogy. And and there's some great shots of
6.1 million.
Exactly, and there's some like great tracking shots of Shaun like leaving the flat or leaving the house and then going into and walking into the store, and just to see the mirroring of like from the first time he does it to the next day where it's like there's trash everywhere, there's zombies going around. I think that's really I don't know, I think it was really well shot. And again, going back to the editing in these movies is just spectacular, and it blows me away every time. That's partially one of Edgar Wright's styles, those hyper jump cuts.
But I've seen so many people try to replicate those jump cuts in like independent films, but they always miss what makes those work. It's the sound effects and the zoom. They zoom and fast cut. You just get these films where it's just cut, cut, cut. They forget the zoom, they forget the sound effects, so it's not just flash that's easy to do. There's thought and care into these transitions.
One of the best jokes that they've ever done with the editing, I think, is in The World's End, wherein he's like, actually, full pints in the water, please. What? And it's just like, beer, water. And it's like, it's great, yes.
And then the next shot after the pouring of the water is a first-person view from Nick Frost's perspective as he puts the water down, and then there's Gary King's disapproving face. You can tell that these films have been storyboarded to within an inch of their life, and I would kill to read those storyboards. I really would, and the original shooting scripts.
So much love and care has been put into these. Every frame, literally, they've been treated like a painting.
But the tracking shots that you mentioned in Shaun of the Dead, like you get so many ambitious shots that are just for the sake of showing off, but those shots are so important to show Shaun's everyday routine, to show that he does this camera shots probably takes place every single day in Shaun's life, and then it shows you on the last day of before the apocalypse, and then it shows the first day of the apocalypse to show that change in the world around him. It's well thought out, it's a shot with purpose, and it is also brilliant.
Yeah.
And also it's really clever how many of the extras in Shaun of the Dead, probably to save money, but it also helps, they are recurring throughout the film. These are people who Shaun has encountered on the bus, at the bus stop, down the street. These are people who he regularly sees, like the person who is in the shop in the background when he goes there on the first day. It breaks into his house and is missing an arm the next day. Like, these are people in his neighbourhood. These are people he knows and regularly interacts with, trying to kill him. And Mary, who's in the garden, is working at the supermarket in the opening credits. That's the same Mary, because she's got the tag on and everything.
I love how, going back to your tracking shots, and how sometimes it's important just to let the camera sit still and let the comedy just happen on screen, and with help, and like, how a simple light behind a door can make such a both terrifying and pretty funny. Like when he goes down to the basement of the pub, and he cuts on and he finds the breaker, and you see the shot of all the zombies at the window, and he's like quickly cuts the light off and like shuts the breaker, pulls the other behind, and just walks up there. It's like, we got a situation. That's one of my favorite shots in that movie, because it's just
it's a genuinely scary shot as well. Yeah. The horror and the comedy they complement each other. They're not fighting against each other.
So beautiful. And then another kind of the precursor to that shot is when they're in the house still, and it's like, are they still out there? And he just pulls up the blinds and he sees like them crash at the door, and just like, yeah, they're still there. I think that I will say that if I have any issue with Shaun of the Dead, is that it feels kind of meandering in its second act. I think that characters were acting in ways that didn't seem appropriate to the situation. I feel like is it David, the guy that gets ripped apart? It's David,
yes.
Right? I feel like if David was truly the character they set him up to be at the start, I don't feel like he would have thrown that trash can through that window. And if he did, I think a better joke might have been, he throws the trash can at the window and it doesn't break. It knocks him over, and then he gets eaten by zombies. I think that might have been a better way to handle that scene. Though it does make sense, they do need a way to get inside. But I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think that the second act is a bit slower because they do spend a big portion of it in the Winchester, just waiting, eating peanuts in the dark, as David says.
Great visual.
Would anyone like a peanut?
They have like a bunch of rousing speech like, no, and then Shaun returns like, hey guys, I made it back, and then cuts them eating peanuts in the dark. I love that, to show that he still hasn't fully changed.
Well, because the great subversion in Shaun of the Dead is that Shaun's plan is terrible. It is a terrible plan.
horrible.
But these are just normal people trying to survive, and he kind of does make things worse, even though he has nothing but the best of intentions.
Well, Ed doesn't help.
No, exactly. And one of the funniest sight gags in the film is that whenever he calls David Four Eyes, he never has his glasses on. David takes his glasses off every time he calls him Four Eyes. So when he calls him Four Eyes, he's never got them on. Like, it's just tiny details like that. I think Penelope Wilton is brilliant as his mum. Bill Nighy kills it, and
Okay, I will say this.
Okay.
After rewatching Shaun of the Dead, I found I can see where the emotion comes from with Shaun's mom. I know I kind of crapped in the scene before.
You did,
and I called it a little comedic, but going back and rewatching it in the whole context of the trilogy, it's great to know that these films do have a lot of heart. Mm-hmm. Maybe Hot Fuzz has the least amount of heart, and World's End gets really heavy towards that end. But yeah, that scene with the mom was pretty rough.
Yeah,
that was
Just what helps.
Stop pointing that gun at my mom! Like that line right there, I was like, oh man,
that line does give me genuine goosebumps, because I think Simon Pegg, he's really funny. He seems really normal and approachable, but he's a terrific actor.
Yes, and we'll get to that scene in The World's End that makes me well up every time.
I remember when in 2013, when I wish I'd do it more regularly, but I just don't have the time. I did like my own little jokey movie awards thing, and I was completely serious when I gave Simon Pegg like a nomination for best performance of 2013, because I think his performance as Gary King, which I'm assuming we'll get to later. I think we're going to tackle these movies in order. Is so layered and so powerful, especially at the end. I've got. Yeah, exactly. And even the moment at the very end when he takes the water, it's these movies are so well thought out and so powerful in many respects, but they're also funny and engaging and mainstream. Like they
stick to their genre.
Yeah.
They stick to their genre in the best way possible. In that Shaun of the Dead, at its core, is a horror film. Mm-hmm. It's a horror film that has a lot of comedic characters in it. Hot Fuzz, in the ground of things, is a murder mystery that turns into a 1990s-esque action movie, like a Commando style, maybe 80s,
or more like Bad
Commando
Boys,
style,
like early 2000s.
or like Bad Boy. There you go, Bad Boys. It does become Bad Boys 2 by the end. It really does, and it's really great. And then World's End is when it's all broken down, a sci-fi horror-esque film, and yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but for Shaun of the Dead, I think it's my favourite in that it's the one that I can watch any time. Like, no matter what mood I'm in, I can watch Shaun of the Dead it can start at any point, it can be at any time of the day, and I can just watch it at any time. And I think Shaun of the Dead is probably one of the best screenplays in recent memory, because I do think it's just so clever and brave, and the characters are really fun. Like, just the little moments, like when Bill Nighy gets turned into a zombie, and he's there trying to convince his mum, saying, "There was nothing of the man you loved in there, nothing!" And then he turns off the car radio.
Yes! It's
it's so
it was just like,
great.
And then you hear the radio cut off, and it's just him just going,
And it's quotable. It's become like the whole. It's get a nice cold pint, go to the Winchester, and wait for all this to blow over.
That's wait for all this to blow.
Take car, go to mum's, kill Phil. Sorry, grab Liz, go to the Winchester. And
I loved
where can I smoke?
Where when they're on the phone, it's like, are you mom? Have you been bitten? No, but Philip picked. Oh well, all right. And then what's his best friend's name? I just forgot the best friend.
Ed.
No, Ed. Yeah, then Ed comes in. It's like, is she all right? Is Barbara all right? It's like, yeah, but Philip's been bitten. All right. I love that. I love the reactions. I'm like, oh yeah, all right. And then, they have a genuine moment in the car between Philip and Shaun of like how he always wanted Shaun to be the best man he could be. Which is why he treated him that way, which is in some cases, which is how some people do parent their children, by being cold to them and helps them out the world. And I think that was a great moment for them to have to really kind of solidify. Though, if you're them, I feel like you could pull Philip out of the car because via his feet and get back in that car. But whatever.
Maybe it doesn't make you judge the characters. It just portrays these flawed individuals as they are. Like maybe Ed. When Ed answers the phone and Shaun gets mad at him, and Ed doesn't help them get into the Winchester, or like when Shaun is trying to be inspirational, he says the only thing that will redeem mankind is cooperation. So was that on a beer mat? Yeah, it was Guinness Extra Cold. I won't say anything. he just portrays these characters as they are, as like, and you get the sense that these characters do have a genuine history with each other, which is also exacerbated. What does that mean? Which is exacerbated when we meet Yvonne, played by Jessica Hines, who has got her own group with her.
Oh, yes.
And they're like perfectly parallel. Like you've got Martin Freeman and Matt Lucas
making a cameo,
Tamsin Gregg and Reece Shearsmith. And they have the awesome plan. They go and get the army, and then they come back all guns blazing, and then they win. And I think that if there is going to be a fourth in the trilogy, Yvonne's story, where does she go and what do they do? I'd read a spin-off graphic novel series about that. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I'm down for a graphic novel, but see that is something that's a question that we asked someone was asked us. What would we like to see in the if they ever came back to this trilogy, if you will, and we'll answer that later. We get to listener questions.
Yeah,
it's interesting to see the way you feel so passionately and so strongly about Shaun the Dead is the way I think I feel about The World's End, because we'll get to The World's End soon. But the way you're talking about it, I'm like, yeah, I feel the exact same way about The World's End.
Yeah, but I think maybe because Shaun of the Dead has the more optimistic ending. Because it's also, there's been a massive zombie apocalypse, but then things come back to normal after a few months, for the most part, and the zombies are still working in their humdrum, normal average life in society.
What a great commentary on modern day services. That was so clever.
And they're taking part in game shows, they're taking part in Jerry Springer type reality TV. But then but what Shaun has done is that he's taken Ed away from all of that and he's put him in the shed, and they play games with each other, and Queen's Best Friend song is playing in the background over the credits, and it's a really touching ending, even though Ed is a zombie.
Yes.
I love it. I just love the ending, and like I said, I can just watch it any time and enjoy it. Which is, this is my favourite and most watchable. But I do think that World's End is the best, and Hot Fuzz is the funniest. If we are arbitrarily ranking these films.
Okay. Right on. Well, you said you'd give it a 10 out of 10. I think I'm pushing for like a 9. I'm up there with a 9. It is a very, very well done, very funny, very engaging film that I think does lend itself to a lot of repeat viewings. And I think it's one of those films that is, you're having so much fun because you're watching quality entertainment on screen and not the other way around. And that like whenever someone says, well, what do you think is a fun movie trailer? I'm like, well, watch the Cornetto Trilogy. Those are fun movies, and this is a very fun film. And also a very engaging one with that. Speaking of funny though, Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
So when I rewatched Hot Fuzz, I found myself legitimately like in tears by some of the jokes. I can't tell you how much I love that the fence bit. We even talked about the fence bit in Shaun of the Dead.
Yes.
But like he hops all those fences, and then you just. The best part about that is I think it's a tracking shot. I think it pans over and follows him as he tries to. You can see him clearly jump into the fence, and he just crashes over.
Yep.
I had to pause it because I was in tears. Oh, I get my side hurt. That was the best.
Never taken a shortcut before.
and then the shot, like you said, of them, like the Andes walking away, and it's like, and they back out of frame, and the other one enters frame again. Talk about good editing.
And Nicholas Angel is he finds all of the underage drinkers in the pub. So, hey, what's your birthday? 22nd of February. What year? Every year. You're 37. Yeah, get out. When's your birthday? Out.
He has really high-pitched voice. It's like, get out. And then, but going back to Simon Pegg being a good actor, kudos to him for really selling it straight, and he really does. He really plays the straight man well, like incredibly well, for essentially the whole portion of this film. And he does a very strong job of it. It was really surprising to me that he was able to pull this off as well as he does, because he really does play it straight-faced for essentially the whole flick. And which is why I think this film relies very much on the jokes, because when Simon Pegg doesn't get to be Simon Pegg, it's about the characters around him, and it's about the you get to use the use of the editing and like you said, the jump cuts and zooms. That's just that scene of him going home. Or going to it's so well done, really great for him first going to Newton, not Newton Haven,
Stanford.
Stanford, yeah. Which is that Is that a Thomas the Tank Engine reference?
Sanford, when you are trained to be a police officer in the UK and you take the written exam, Sanford is the name of the generic town in the questions.
So smart.
Smart. Sanford is not an actual place. It is something that you need to know about police protocol to know about, which is a great in-joke.
Yes. What he said.
What he said. Yeah, that's a funny one.
Okay, yeah, and so I really do enjoy Hot Fuzz. I do think, you're right, it might be the funniest of the three. And I think that's where it stands out. It also, I think, maybe has the best structure out of the three, in that the boringness part of the movie is at the start, and the movie just continues to build and build and build. And I think that's where, while a film like Shaun of the Dead may have its slower bit in the middle, and a film like The World's End I think is just octane and funny from the whole way through, Hot Fuzz is kind of like to quote Chris Stuckman, it's like sex. It builds, the jokes build, and it gets funnier and more insane as the film goes along. I'm really surprised that there wasn't more of a Godzilla reference when they were fighting in the model village. By the way, I got real Godzilla vibes. Yeah. What do you think, Trilbee?
What's it like being stabbed? It was the single most painful experience of my life. What was the second most painful? It's like, what I love about this trilogy.
What made you want to be a police? What made you want to be a policeman officer? What made you want to be a policeman officer?
I think Hot Fuzz is the most apparent example of just how different the roles that Simon Pegg and Nick Frost play. Because in World's End we've got Nick Frost being the straight man and Simon Pegg being the live wire, but in Hot Fuzz we've got Nick Frost being the sort of innocent, like childlike. I forget his name. I feel terrible.
Andy. Not Andy.
No, Danny. Danny Butterman. Nicholas Angel. And the whole opening of the opening where we find out Nicholas's experience and his time with the police, and he gets stabbed by Santa, played by Peter Jackson.
Was that Peter Jackson?
That was Peter Jackson as the Santa.
That's beautiful.
And,
that's amazing.
And Tilda Swinton is his wife when they go to that house for that crime scene. That's Tilda Swinton.
Oh man, that's great.
Who does Bob look like someone I'd want to go out with? Oh, it's Dave. Hello there.
That's who the wife was. I was wondering. I'm like, who is that? I saw the face. I'm like, I don't know why I just IMDb it. I was like, who is that? Those eyes look really familiar, and that voice is familiar. Mm-hmm. That is a great gag. That is a great gag though. When it's like, does he look like some guy going out with? Oh, I'm like, who are you going out with? It looks like the exact same guy.
Yeah. Hello there. It's just it's the cartoony voice in the background. And with the Sanford Police, you've got no, not Sanford. It's the Metropolitan Police. Martin Freeman, Steve Coogan, and Bill Nighy. And they're just there, like, trying to break it to him that he's too good and they want him to leave, and they're just smiling at him, and it's so clinical. It's like, hello, how's the hand? It's still a bit stiff. Just asking
she was murdered! Just like Tim Messenger? Yes. George Merchant? Yes. Eve Draper? Yes. Martin Buller? No, actually, really? Of course he effing was!
And they've got the swear jar.
Yes! IMDb's very useful. You need to find out the quote you're trying to remember what it was. IMDb's very useful.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I have those tabs open as well.
Mm-hmm. That explains it.
Okay, what's this quote? Don't go being a twat now. I wouldn't give you the satisfaction.
That was when he's talking to the Andes. And he's and he sends him off. Yeah, that's
I think Hot Fuzz has got possibly one of the best ensemble casts in British history. Because you've got everybody at Sanford, you've got the Neighbourhood Watch, like Timothy Dalton, and all of these casts, and the residents in Sanford as well, and all the cameos. The cast is insane when you actually break down who's in the film. And you've got Peter Jackson and Tilda Swinton and Jim Barlow, Jim Broadbent, Paddy Considine, Rafe Spall, Olivia Colman, Bill Bailey.
What's his name? Bloody Filch. Walter Frey. What's his name? No, I'm gonna look this up because it's really gonna bother me if I don't know this.
I know it's gonna bother me as well. But David Bradley, he's the farmer.
Oh, okay.
What did he say?
What did he say? He said that was great.
And they've got the sea mine.
Yes. I think how Hot Fuzz is done really speaks to how Edgar Wright works as a filmmaker, because I think Hot Fuzz is such a departure from anything Shaun of the Dead did, even in the sense of the horror, because Shaun of the Dead, because Hot Fuzz does have some horror moments and it have the slasher moments, but Shaun of the Dead, all the gore and the violence was it was there. It was zombies, so all the gore was just, you had to sit there and watch people get eaten, like that great scene where they're walking away and you think the couple's making out and then the guy's neck falls over. And so, but in this one, it's very, like you said, very a lot of jump cuts and very zooms. Maybe that speaks on the commentary of how action movies these days are all just like, action you can't see, it's shaky cam and jump cuts and whatnot.
Yeah. It's interesting because Shaun of the Dead doesn't really have a villain apart from... It's got the zombies, but there's no proper villain performance. But then in Hot Fuzz, we've got Timothy Dalton, who is outstanding. And when he smiles...
You really think they're building for him not to be the killer, and you realize, like, oh no, the whole town is. Yeah.
It's a clever twist as well in how the neighborhood... Yeah. And they've killed all these people to try and have the perfect neighborhood.
And like this guy's going like 100 miles per hour on this country road, and they don't kill him for that. They kill him for being like dreadful actor.
Dreadful. And she had an annoying laugh. Annoying. Crusty jugglers. Dog muck. Gypsy scum.
Oh, and then the statue guy still frozen is in the basement.
Oh
man.
And with Timothy Dalton, and he's clearly relishing every moment he's on screen.
Yes.
And when
I bet he read that script and was like, this was about to be really fun to shoot.
Yes.
Like he gets all the puns, the names are really clever too, and rather obvious in hindsight. Skinner, I think Hatchet is one. Angel, Hatcher, Reaper, Butterman clearly because Andy's not Andy. What is it?
Danny.
He's Andy in the World's End. Danny is such a nice and cuddly guy. So his last name's Butterman because he looks like he's made of butter. So it just touches like that really show how much care and craft was put into this flick. Yeah.
It just makes them really rewatchable, and these films are so rewarding on multiple viewings. Hot Fuzz especially because there are so many sight gags and so many lines of dialogue. There was even like a subplot that was cut out of Hot Fuzz where he notices that graffiti on the fountain, and there's a whole subplot on the DVD or on the Blu-ray with like this whole other conspiracy happening with the teenagers or something. I can't quite remember. But that's really the only part of this trilogy that has a deleted... that's really the only deleted subplot or substantial deleted scenes from this entire trilogy. These films basically came out exactly how Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg wanted them to.
Which shows, because they're clearly very talented people. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And the action's also genuinely very well done, but my issue with Hot Fuzz is because I think in the end, it just becomes what it's parodying. It doesn't really...
Yes.
It does that intentionally. I just think maybe if you'd lost 10 minutes from... Because they take down every single person in the village, every single cast member. Yes. And I think it's a little bit long-winded. I still love it, and if someone says Hot Fuzz is their favourite, I'm not going to discredit them. Any of these films could be anyone's favourite.
I will say this, I do think that the action, to quote Rick and Morty, if you've ever seen the show Rick and Morty, anyone listening, it's just become gratuitous at this point. There's a certain point where I said, I think we can wrap up here right about now.
Yeah.
I love the callback to, fascist and hag.
Yeah.
You're a doctor, deal with it.
Yeah, motherfucker. Oh, fuck off, grasshopper. And then when Andy, one of the Andys says, "You want to be a big cop in a small town? Fuck off to the model village," and that's where they have the climax of the film take place.
Yes.
And then the swan comes in.
Yes, swan.
Hello, the swan's escaped.
The way they take out Timothy Dalton. Oh, P.S. Taker. Yeah, piss Taker. Sorry, my apologies, Mr. Staker.
Yes. Oh God.
Yeah, and the way they take out Timothy Dalton is rough. Like, that is a rough way to go.
He wants some ice cream.
Yes.
What is it when he's running to get that guy in the hoodie, and he stops he stops in front of the camera. "Oh, you mothers!" And there's just 10 mothers with prams.
Mothers. There's 10 people with carriages going around. Yeah.
And then he jumps over the fences perfectly. Danny just crashes through him.
And like one of the best pratfalls ever. My God, just how that kills me every time. To see him just. I think it's the fact that he kind of jumps and just jumps into the fence.
Like he barely even makes it a couple of inches off the ground and just crashes through. Like he just thought, I can do this.
Yeah, it's really fun to watch. Yeah, Nick Frost is very good in that. I think he might be the best. He might be my favorite in this film. I think this might be my favorite Nick Frost performance.
Nick Frost needs to be in more movies.
Yeah, he probably does.
He really does. But he's in those Huntsman Snow White movies. Is he? He's doing okay for himself. He's one of the dwarfs.
Right. Oh, right on.
Yeah,
I haven't seen them, so that's news to me.
Yeah. Don't. They're not very good, but he's okay. he's doing okay, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, I love whenever there's I guess I love the DVDs of the outtakes and everything that happened in Hot Fuzz, because there's the scene when he's in the supermarket and he notices the guy who's shoplifting, and then what happens is that he runs out of the office, Timothy Dalton's office, and then goes into the shop floor, and then he slides into the aisle. There's about 30 outtakes of him messing up that slide and like falling over or falling into the shelves or just not sliding far enough. It's some of the funniest outtakes I've ever seen. And just get any of these films on DVD and just watch the outtakes, because you're in for just as many laughs as the films themselves.
They look like they're really fun to make too. I feel like I'd like to be on set of one of those movies and just watch the masters at work. Yeah.
I'm just looking at some trivia here, and apparently Nick Frost said that he would only do Hot Fuzz if he could choose his character's name, and he chose Danny Butterman.
Right on.
So that's where the name came from.
Okay. Well, I feel like they know. I mean, that's not a hard name. If you're Ed Wright, you're not going to be like, no, I'm going to choose the name, and so you don't come back.
It's Sammy Butterman. I refuse to budge.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What would you give Hot Fuzz out of 10?
I'd give it a 9.
Okay, I'll go 8.5, because I do think that ending is going for a little too long and it is a little slow to start, but there's a point there to where I think it's some of the trilogy's best scenes are in Hot Fuzz, and I really enjoy the comedy in Hot Fuzz is very, very standout. Yeah.
Trey, lock me up. I'm a slasher and I must be stopped. You're a what? A slasher of prices.
Prices, that's right.
My discounts are criminal.
She'll be in pieces by the morning or whatever. What was that?
Yeah. Point Break or Bad Boys 2? Which one do you think I'll prefer? No, which one do you want to watch first?
Which one do you want to watch first? Yeah. Which one do you want to watch first?
You're off the fucking chain.
Like he's like shotgun with the shotgun.
Yeah, I said playtime's over, then I hit him with the peace lily. Oh.
Did you say cool off? It's like, no. Also, Game of Thrones fans, that's the Hound as Mr. Yarp. I forgot his name, but yeah.
What is it? I forget his name.
Yeah.
Michael something.
Yeah, that's the guy who plays the Hound. I just realized that now. That blew my mind. I was like, whoa, it's the Hound. Yarp. Narp. Okay. I was like, oh, okay, about that. Yeah, okay. I think that's all I have to say about Hot Fuzz. If you have anything else you want to
add? Not really. I've got like a 20-25 minute review of it on my YouTube channel, so you can find that there. Very
talented, very, very well done film. And then we get to The World's End.
Yes.
The end at the end. What a truly, in my opinion, incredible movie. One of my all-time favorites. I love this movie to death because from the beginning to the end, I feel like this isn't a story about. It's a very pessimistic story in the sense that Gary King does not go through. He goes through an arc to an extent in that he learns that the people need to move on in their lives, but at the same time, he learns that he doesn't want to, because clearly he's wasted his life so much, and he's wasted away wondering when he could go back and attempt to recreate what he considers to be the best night of his life. And so towards the very end of the film, the last shot, which is in my opinion fantastic. Also, if you notice, every time Simon Pegg is introduced in these films, he's put in straight center of the frame. I'm not sure if you noticed that, but like, you know, Shaun of the Dead opens with, you know, the pan up of him when he wakes up or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. And so and then the trilogy ends with with him center frame, surrounded by the robots. What a great ending to that movie, by the way. I love that movie so much. But yeah, it speaks towards how he doesn't necessarily grow as a character, but that doesn't mean he doesn't learn a lesson. Yeah.
I think he does grow a lot. I think in terms of arcs, Gary King he has the most growth in terms of Simon Pegg's characters in the trilogy, because he abandons all of his friends, like back when he was a teenager, and even to an extent during the events of the film. And then in the end, when he orders the water and he fights for his friends at the end, that's the measure of Gary's growth in that film. Him ordering that water, because he basically dooms the world at the end of the film. He destroys the world, and he leaves these blanks. He leaves them with nowhere to call home, with nowhere to go.
No bots.
I think nobody's going to come up with anything better than Smashy Eggman. He orders water, and he defends these blanks in this massive pub, because they even foreshadow it when Nick Frost's character is talking about ordering water and a pint full of big burly football blokes. Now that my friend takes confidence, and then at the end he does that. He does that, and he defends his friends, because even though he's kind of left these blanks with nowhere to go, he's going to stick it out with them until the bitter end, or lager end in this case.
Yeah. I do talking about foreshadowing. This film is the definition of that phrase. Like, the film is you think, you know, something like Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz has a lot of foreshadowing. The World's End from minute one is nothing but foreshadowing. Mm-hmm. Even Pete, when he says, you know, it's like dying in a field. I hate fields, and he ends up dying in a field.
Yeah.
You know, it's and like this, and from the beginning, how the first 5 minutes is essentially the plot of the movie, and if you look carefully, it spoils the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And he ends up ditching Sam the same way he ditches. The whole thing plays out the exact same way, except this time he makes it to the world's end. And I do think the foreshadowing in this film is pretty intense. Yeah.
Well, even all of the names of the pubs on the Golden Mile. Like
there you go.
The first post. I'm going to try and remember the plot of The World's End. Right. So the first post is, of course, the first pub they go to. The Old Familiar is identical to the first one, so it's a familiar pub. The Famous Cock is when Gary was kicked out because he's a cock. And he's famous. The Crossed Hands.
Where they had the first fight.
It's when they're fighting, and it's a move that the no-bots or the smashy Eggmans do.
That's when I knew I was in for a treat watching this film, is when that fight scene starts, because you don't expect it to be that intense, and that what a fantastic fight scene that fight scene in the Russian. But keep going, yeah.
Okay, the crossed hands is the fight. The Good Companions is when they pretend to blend in. They're pretending to have a good time. The Trusty Servant is when Martin Freeman is changed into a servant.
Yes.
The Two-Headed Dog is the twins.
Yeah, the twins.
The Mermaid is sort of like the siren, the women who are trying to seduce them.
Yes. And then the Beehive is when they run into... That's when they run into Pierce Brosnan, the teacher.
Who's much fun.
Yes, isn't he? And that's when they find out, you know... They're all essentially drone bees for what is presumably this one giant central thing. Mm-hmm. It's when, you know, the mother box or whatever starts talking through Pierce Brosnan, and you find out, you know, so it's the Beehive, and then they take a break to go to the smokehouse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then they go to the King's Head, which is where Gary sort of takes control of the situation and starts moving on his own. That's that's his moment of abandonment. Yes. Hole in the Wall is when the beast crashes through the wall.
Yes.
And then The World's End of the world.
Is where the world literally ends, yeah.
Yes.
And so, they, like, from the beginning, they really just explain to you, like, oh yeah, this is what's going to happen throughout the course. So now if I watch an Edgar Wright movie, I'm going to sit there and be like, is that important? Is that important? That feels important.
The World's End is the name of a pub in London and Camden Market. And I actually remember, like in 2011, 2012, when the name of the movie had been released. There was no they hadn't started. Maybe they had been filming, but there was no trailers or any promotional material. We just knew that the movie was called The World's End. Mm-hmm. And then I passed this pub called The World's End, and I took a photo of it and I tweeted it to Edgar Wright and was like, "Is this what's inspired your film?" And he replied, and he was like, "Yes."
Oh my God, that's look at you, Trilbee. Look at you.
I spoke to Edgar Wright on Twitter.
How about that?
Maybe. But for the fight scenes, I think that it was interesting that this was not Edgar Wright's next film after Hot Fuzz. It was Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which is really inventive and has so much incredible action in it. And I think that The World's End would not be as good as it was had he not had that experience working on Scott Pilgrim.
Yes, I agree.
And I think the action scenes demonstrate that.
Yeah, Scott Pilgrim was such a... And it's interesting because Scott Pilgrim, in many ways of how Nightmare Before Christmas has gone to define what a lot of the goth culture is, I don't think you can be a hipster and not like Scott Pilgrim versus the World. It's a very hipstery film. Like, I do volunteer work at my school's library, and I know...
Nerd!
Yeah, I know, right?
And you're the head of the orchestra, and you're...
Yeah. To be fair, I don't like reading books, but my point is, and one day after school, because they have an anime club at that... Yeah, I know, right?
Are you president of that as well?
No, I turned my thing over on pop culture. No, I hate anime. Whoops. And
there goes 20% of our fan base.
Exactly, like 80 people just like clicked off. No, but the anime club showed Scott Pilgrim, and that's when I really watched it for the first time. And I had this thought, I was like, what a hipstery movie. Yeah. It was a great time. I really do enjoy that film, but I said, if you're not careful, you can really find yourself obsessing over a film like that, because there's so much there. And the action is true. How great is that scene when Chris Evans first shows up and you hear the Universal theme?
Yes, and he cricks his neck to the tune of it.
Yes,
and every stuntman that he fights in that scene is actually a Chris Evans stuntman who's worked with him in the past.
Oh, that's great. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But that fight in the bathroom, in the toilet, and they do that really long shot, and there's everyone just fighting, and because these aren't like trained people, like say Nicholas Angel in and they're not even armed like the characters in Shaun of the Dead. These are just fists, and at one point they smash his head over the side of a urinal, and there's just blue goop, and these are brutal fights, and it's more like as the film goes on and they get progressively drunker, and it becomes like a Japanese or Chinese drunken master Wu-Tang movie. And
I love when they're in the beehive and Gary is trying to get that drink down constantly. Yes. What a brilliant! I remember I was in the theater and I was in tears because that was like what a great. It's just like up spilling. He looks like boff. He like throws the glass down. What a great bit. That it was all done in a tracking shot. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they stitched them together, but it looks like a really well done tracking shot. And it was,
It's really clever how they get Andy. What happens is that when he gets really, really angry at Pierce Brosnan and punches him, he breaks off Martin Freeman's head. That's what he does.
Andy. WT. What does WTF mean?
He just rips off his his cardigan as opposed to his shirt. Like, he doesn't just rip off. I fucking hate this town. And then he picks up those stools and takes up an action pose.
Yeah, so he's like he's the Hulk. Oh man, yeah.
It's absolutely brilliant in terms of the action sequences. So inventive, and I'm so glad that he did work on Scott Pilgrim. But it's also just even just the dialogue sequences and how the shots are able to engage you. Like, it doesn't have to be massively energetic.
Oh, you say that the Bible is written by Alexander Dumas. Don't be daft, man. It was written by Jesus.
They've even got like a really great emotional moment when is it Peter? He's talking about that bully that he had when he was young, and then Gary just comes in with the shots. SHOTS shots. What are you doing, Gary?
When I was watching Well, I was watching. There's a scene, not to change something, but I was watching Kung Fu Panda 3. And if you guys have seen Kung Fu Panda 3, then there's a scene where Po and his dad is talking about when his dad lost his wife, or Po's mother, and how heart-wrenching that scene is. And they have this really touching moment, and then they both like to start hugging each other, and you're really sad. And then like there's this recurring joke in that film about this giant panda that wants to give people hugs. Have you seen Kung Fu Panda 3, Trilbee?
I have, yes. It's the
Yes, and
least
so-
of
yeah.
the three, but I still enjoy it.
And then that panda comes in, oh, give me a hug, and the whole theater lost their minds. That's exactly what that scene, and like, you know, you're really taken back by how emotional it's getting right now. And then Gary comes in, and I'm back to laughing my ass off because of SHOT, shots.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like, what is this? Shot. I thought I made that clear. Yeah.
and I'm just thinking of how awesome the delivery of some of the lines are, because these are just great actors as well, like Pierce Brosnan. It's like, sir, are you a robot? No, Gary, of course I'm not a robot. It's the way he says it.
But
like,
you're on their side. This is not about sides, Stephen.
It's about playing as one team. He's got a really cool voice, and he rocks that facial hair.
He's very charismatic. Maybe they should have given him better Bond movies.
Snap!
I'm just saying.
And Michael Smiley plays the Reverend. And there's that great conversation when it's like, okay, me and him, we've got a very sophisticated way to communicate with each other. He signs up to the bar. You got any drugs?
Yes, I love that. Like it's like a. You got any drugs?
How much do you know? A little. How much is a little? That the town's been taken over by robots full of blue stuff. Well, they're not robots. Do you know what robot means? Of course I do. It's like, hello, I am a robot.
From Robotnik, meaning slave, and I love that recurring joke of robots who aren't robots. Oh my god! And then with the twins, and I see when he talks about when he had sex with the twins, like I was drunk with Rick. So there's like 4 of them.
And, yeah, they get a lot of mileage out of the robots that aren't robots, and when they keep on being explained that robots mean slave, and then when Pierce Brosnan, who used to be their teacher, it's like, does anyone know what robot means? Oh, me. It means slave.
Very good, Gary.
And he's got this really smug look on his face.
like he's known that the whole time. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's largely like, you know, being in class, like, oh, yep, see. Like, because your friend tells you something about that, and now suddenly you know the answer. That reminds me, in school last year, I had to read Frankenstein, and I had not read up in time. I think I was like 20 pages behind. No, if that. I was far behind in the book. I did not do my reading. I like reading books. My point of the story is my friend, she let me through, and she explained like one part of the story that happened, and then I got like the quiz that was like, you know, a pass or fail quiz. You either know it or you didn't, and it happened to be the one thing that she explained to me. I said, oh, well, you see, if you do this, this, and this, and so I ended up getting 100 on the quiz. She ended up failing the quiz, and so I got 100 on the quiz.
Oh, that's wrong.
And so I'm talking about smugness because you think you know the answer. I'm like, well, how about that? Didn't I not just win?
David Bradley has got his crazy straw in the film.
Yes, great bit. It's like, wait, I think I had this crazy straw the whole time.
It's not so crazy now, is it?
What I always been telling you to do? Go! It's just in the way he's running away.
I'm doing what you mentioned earlier, just looking at the IMDb quotes. Like, 10 people have entered this toilet in the last 5 minutes, and not a single one has come back out again. That's going to look suspicious. Gay loving.
Gay loving. Yep, I love gay loving. I love that. Oh man, this movie's so great.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. And going back to that emotional bit at the end, talking about Gary's journey, it really does speak to how well Simon Pegg is as an actor. That, you know, the film's emotion definitely builds once he takes, I think he drinks number 10, I think it is, and then he hands Andy the keys or whatever, he hands Steven the keys, and then he just takes off. And I think that shows that he does not care that the world is potentially coming to an end. What he cares about is this golden mile. He's going to get this done. and you're really wondering, like, why is he trying so hard? And you realize, he was, I think, was it like a rehab hospital or something like that?
Yeah, it was basically an alcoholic rehab center. Yeah.
Well, my thinking is that he did a lot of heroin and drugs. He didn't want to show him his arm because clear, or maybe it's because he had the things on his wrist. I don't know. But
I think what's implied is that he tried to kill himself by maybe slitting his wrists.
Oh yeah.
That's how I took it, but I don't think
that might be.
If there is a drug problem, it's more focused on the alcoholism. It's more focused on the alcohol, and if it is a drug problem, it is. I'm not saying it's a lesser problem, but in terms of the focus of the film, film is his alcoholism.
Yeah, and I think that's a great bit where you see his wrist, and he's like, "You need help," and it's like, and he's like, "I tried getting help, and everyone was just telling me how awful the world was," and I said, "What a great take on how people handle the rehab and try to cope with what they're dealing with." And then he drops the line, it's like, "It's because it's all I've got," and then it's just like, oh man, it's like, how do you know what it's like to be drunk when you're never sober? And it's like, I don't want to be sober. And it's a very, very powerful moment, but it doesn't take away from the style and the feel of the film. Just because the film gets really heavy in certain moments, they're able to come back with it by having that great standoff with the, what's it called, like the program, whatever it's called, the giant voice.
The network.
The network, there it is. With the network voice by Bill Nighy, who I love just how increasingly fresh. It's like talking to children at that point. How increasingly arrogant, and like the way he says it, Gary, King of the Humans. I love the way he says that name. And by the end, he's just like, you know what? Screw it. He's like, yeah, screw it, and then just leaves. It's like, hey, and they left. They all left, and then things starts blowing up. Yeah.
Oh, fuck off, you big lamp.
That's right. Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
Mulch.
When he kicks off the head of the Gary King. By the way, I've met the young Gary King. I've met the actor. Nice guy. Yeah, and he rips off his head. It's like, there's only one Gary King. And then when he's talking about how the human race are more stubborn and belligerent than you could possibly imagine. Yeah, there's more than one Gary King, but you said, I fucking know what I fucking said.
Yeah, use a vulgarity. It's like, blah, 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 I'm not here. It's like, you know what? It's useless. I'm like, yeah, screw it. And he just takes off. Oh, man.
Hey, who are you to criticise anyway? Now, you may think that Gary is a bit of a cock, and he is a bit of a cock, but he's my cock! Well, thanks, mate. Then they think that the more drunk they get, the easier it will be. But I guess they just keep on getting progressively drunker as the night goes on, and the performances are brilliant, that you believe that these guys are just getting completely wasted as they go along.
When Simon Pegg went on some talk shows in America, and he was talking about how drunk acting was so difficult, and he says that one of the things you really need to get down is the eyes, and how there's a certain part where when you're so drunk, you have to convince yourself that you're not drunk, and so your eyes just kind of glaze over, and you do like this really long blink. And I think, and like going back and watching The World's End now, you can see that throughout the course of the film. Like, oh yeah, he's trying to do drunk acting, he's doing it really well, because he still has like the lipstick from at the Mermaid, and yeah, just really fun flick, and I really do. Go ahead, Trilbee.
Well, it's obvious that the robots that aren't robots are onto them, and but they don't know that yet. So they're thinking, Gary thinks that we should keep up with the crawl because we know what they're doing, but they don't know that we know what they're doing, and basically no one's got a better idea. So fuck it, and then he just crashes into the door.
Glass. Yes.
But it does all lead to that confrontation in The World's End when Gary King basically admits that night when he abandoned all of his friends, he got sick all over his shoes, and it never got better than that night. And he says that he was promised all of that they could take on the whole universe and all the optimism, and the fact that was the best night of his life, and he's just so determined to recreate it. He's kept the same cassette tape, he's kept the car, and he's got the same phone,
except the brakes and essentially the whole engine. Yeah. Great.
And that's incredibly sad. And we know that, we all know that friend who, well, maybe not you because you're not out of education yet, but we all know that person who has just not moved on since school or college or whatever. That person who is still living in that past. And I think that it's a good thing that The World's End is not a movie about these characters learning how depraved and how little Gary King has moved on. They know it from the outset. They're mainly there out of pity for him because he tricks them into thinking that his mum died from the big C the big cancer.
That's great. I love when he's talking about. I think I was watching with my cousin, and he says his favorite line of the movie is when they're talking. It's like, remember when me and Sam. And but he does the gesture. He does the gesture, and then he just flat out says it. I don't know. That line to me is so beautiful because it's so. It's anyways. It's just going back to what you were saying earlier.
And he owes Andy some money. So what he does is that he tries to act like he's paid him back and it's all fine, but he's just borrowed from all of his friends. It's robbing Peter to pay Paul. No, I borrowed from Peter to pay you. I still owe Paul.
Still owe Paul.
Yeah, because everybody has either moved. Everyone's moved on except for Gary, so they just come along to humour him, and they all want out. Especially once they realise that Gary was lying the whole time. But it's clever because you mentioned in Hot Fuzz how their last names were foreshadowing that they were villains, and you've got Gary King, Andy Knightley, Stephen Prince, Chamberlain, and these characters these are like their Knights of the Round Table. And it's sort of the hierarchy of the group.
I will say this: I wish Martin Freeman had more time to be Martin Freeman. I think he's great. He's fantastic in the film, and I think he plays Robot really well. Oh man, yeah. And I think that it's just because he doesn't get to be regular Oliver for long, because much like in the actual event back when they were kids in the 90s, he gets out, what is it, like early, like Pubs 5 or 6, and so I think Martin Freeman, I wish he was able to get more to do, because he's really good and he's really funny in this movie for when they let him. Yeah.
Well, he was filming The Hobbit at around this time. Okay. So I think that there was a bit of issue maybe with scheduling, but it's just great to see Martin Freeman. He gets he's funny, but he's also the guy who sort of leads in a lot of the jokes. Yeah. Like maybe they've got selective memories. Yeah, like what's his name? Me.
Yeah. I like whenever they're like, let's just go out there and finish our drinks, he makes that face, he looks like silently like makes this giant smile as he walks out the door. I think that's a great visual bit. Yeah.
That closed out one of the trailers. I remember that. Yeah. It's like, I'm gonna love Martin Freeman in this movie, because I think Stephen Moffat brought it out. He mentioned it best because he writes for Martin Freeman in Sherlock, and he says he says that Martin Freeman, he brings out the poetry of the everyday man. And if you've seen him in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy as Arthur Dent,
I have not seen that film.
It's not a brilliant film, but he is great in it. He spends most of the film in his dressing gown. It's that type of film. And of course, he's Bilbo Baggins in The Hobbit. He just knows how to be the everyday guy and make it compelling.
As much as I don't like that third Hobbit film, I think he might be the best in Battle of Five Armies. That scene, and I'll point to that scene where they're all. You've seen all the Hobbit films?
Yeah.
I'll turn. You can point to that scene in Battle of Five Armies when it's. I think it's the Elf King and Gandalf and everyone there is sitting in that kind of meeting talking about what to do, and Bilbo shows up and he just like talks down to all of them, and I'm just like, man, Martin Freeman is just fantastic, and not to mention that scene with him and Smaug is just some of the best I've seen in a few years. That scene is incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorite moments in the entire Hobbit trilogy is when he's in. It's before Smaug gets woken up, and he makes a noise, and then Smaug starts lifting up, and he just crouches down, and he's like, he's just crouching down, and the look of sheer terror on his face is saying, "If I can't see him, he can't see me. If I can't." He's
when Smaug can sense him, even though he has on the ring, is just like precious. And then like he makes him take like the ring's been taken off. You're just like, oh, that's horrible. Like you just see him come around the corner. You're like, oh, that's just terrifying. Yeah. And you can see the Cumberbatchness in Smaug, and Desolation of Smaug is my favorite Middle Earth movie, but that's just because that ending bit and then the end scene. What have we done? Beautiful cliffhanger. Like that's an Empire Strikes Back moment if I've ever seen one.
It is brilliant.
2013 was a good year for movies, in my opinion.
It was. Same year as The World's End.
World's End, Gravity, Iron
Man 3.
Desolation of Smaug. Well, Marvel did
Pacific Rim.
I loved Man of Steel, 12 Years a Slave. We got a lot of great films. And
Oz the Great and Powerful.
Wolf of Wall Street.
You think I'm kidding? I love these films.
Shut up, Shaun. No, you don't.
Thor: The Dark World.
That is a crap film.
Man of Steel.
A good film, really good
Monsters
film.
University.
Wolf of Wall Street, one of my all-time favorite movies, came out that year as well. My first film I ever saw alone in the trash.
A Good Day to Die Hard.
Alright, well, I'm getting to like Gary King soon enough. Oh boy.
Scary Movie 5.
Oh, now you're just being funny.
'Twas a Great Year.
'Twas a great... Okay, Trilbee. Alright, never mind. The comedic timing there was pretty good.
I've just broken you in the past minute.
Okay, you know what? What would you give The World's End?
Jack Ryan.
That was 2014.
No,
that was January.
December 25th.
What? No.
December 25th.
Where? In the UK? That didn't come out Christmas time.
In America, December 25th.
Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit. No way.
Well, according to Wikipedia, it's 2013.
Well, Wikipedia's lying to you, Shaun.
It is. Maybe it is. But see, World's End is probably one of the biggest flip-flops I've done on a film. Because when I first saw it, I was like, I think it's the weakest of the trilogy, 7 out of 10, whatever. But then I watched it again and again, and I just fell in love with it. And by the end of the year, it was like in my top 3 of 2013. I'm giving this the full-on 10. I think it is...
Yeah.
I think it's the best and most well-polished of the 3, and I think it's got the best performances. And while I think that Shaun of the Dead is my favourite, I think World's End is the best, if that makes sense. I think it's not as quotable as the previous ones, but I think it's because it's got so many long-form gags and so many interactions, and it's so quick and snappy, and the actors are working so well with each other. And I think that it's also just got a lot to say about how... because there's a chain of pubs in the UK called Wetherspoons, and what Wetherspoons does is that they buy out these pubs and they just make them identical to all of the other Wetherspoons.
They Starbucks it.
Yeah, basically they are the Starbucks of pubs, and Wetherspoons is fine, affordable, nice food, it's good, but they're all the same. It's the same menu, and it's this idea of just this uniform idea that these characters have unwittingly gotten themselves into, that they're trying to escape from. It's sort of like it's like the great use of metaphor, which is what Shaun of the Dead did so well with the zombies, that I think places it above Hot Fuzz. But this entire trilogy is absolutely terrific, and I think The World's End is an incredible capper to it. So,
What he said. I agree 110%. I also give it a 10. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. And I'm glad it holds up as much as I did. It's been about a year since I've actually seen it, and then I rewatched it this weekend. Actually, yeah, I finished it today. And going back, that ending is so good. I now want to see a post-apocalyptic film, but with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. Just that movie, that ending is so great. It's just, they call me the king. I was like, oh, that's so badass.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's got a cool voice, hasn't he?
Yeah. Okay, well then I think, Trilbee, it's time for listener questions.
But Trey, we'll always have the disableds.
Forget it, man. It's Sanford.
Go back to London.
Fuck off to Legoland, yeah.
Go back to the model village.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Alright, guys, this is the listener question portion of the show in which we answer your listener questions on the Facebook page. Yay. Okay, so Ben Hayes on Facebook asks, what are your least favorite parts of your favorite movies? For example, I love Jurassic Park, but the science is laughable at best. Do you mind if I go first?
Yeah, go for it.
I love The Dark Knight to pieces. It is my all-time favorite movie. But if I have anything that I don't like with that film, I think my least favorite. It's not even that I don't like. I think I don't like how the best scene I think of the movie happens in the middle. If that makes any sense. My favorite bit of movie is the Joker in the underpass, the chase scene, and then them in the interrogation, and then he fails to save Rachel, and that's the best chunk of that movie. That's like the middle, the second act, if you will. Yeah.
I think the Dark Knight's a good example, because even though I love most of it, upon rewatching, I tend to fast forward through the whole Coleman Reese rescue scene.
Yeah.
I don't dislike it. It's,
the hospital bit?
Well, no, as in like the fake crash and the whole fake identity thing. I watched the hospital scenes, but the stuff around it, I think it's just mainly an excuse to get Two-Face and Joker talking to each other without interruption. It's fine. It's just that's the part of the film I tend to fast forward to if I've only got maybe 2 hours to watch it. But it's still a 10 out of 10 movie. Because if we're talking about Dark Knight, but least favorite parts of favorite movies. Having watched it recently, the whole Jack and Sally love plot from Nightmare Before Christmas is pants.
I'll give you that.
The love story sucks.
I'll give you that. I don't know if that's one of my favorite movies, but if it's one of you, I'll give you that. The love story is
it's a film that I love and watch every year, but it's something because you never know what the dynamic between these two characters are. It's implied when Sally leaves that basket of stuff underneath Jack's window that these two have never really had an interaction with each other before. But then when Jack is auditioning people and finding out what everyone in the town of Halloween's skill sets are to make Christmas happen, they're having a conversation as if they've known each other in this town for a while. And then when Jack rescues them at the end, and Sally's like, "Oh no, how did you get down here?" And Sally's like, "Oh well, I don't know," and she's all nervous, and he's like, "Sally, I can't believe I never realised." It's like, what is this?
Yeah,
what is this?
To be
shit?
fair, the movie's like an hour. To be fair, the movie's like an hour long, so I mean, they probably didn't have a lot of time to work through that.
But what's weird is that you get so many fans of the movie and so many huge Tim Burton diehards who get tattoos with Sally and they cosplay as Sally, and it's like there's nothing to this character other than her being the main female presence in your favorite movie. I think that's a bit sad.
She's got a pretty great scene where she knocks out her father, and then there's a great line of "That's the second time you've knocked me out with that stuff this month." I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah, but when it comes to once she does escape and she's just meandering around the movie for about an hour, it's not great. But I wouldn't say that's my absolute favourite movie or anything. It's just something that's in my head recently from a film I do love watching every year.
Fair enough. Mm-hmm. Okay.
On the time travel in Terminator 2 makes no.
Yeah, the time travel in Terminator period is quote to quote you pants.
Yeah. If in Toy Story,
Trilbee. Hold on, Trilbee. I think there might be someone at my door.
Oh.
Come in. Yeah, what? What's up, Grandpa?
Check this out.
I'll be right there. I'll be right back, Trilby, if you can give me a minute and a half.
No problem.
Okay, I've returned.
Hooray!
Yeah. Here, I'm going to mark that down and let's see. I'm going to say left the room at a point. Room at... What was that? What did we say that was time? Like, what, 2:05?
Yeah. Well, if Bandit edits this, there'll just be a period of, like, silence for a minute and a half on the audio levels, so hopefully you'll notice.
Yeah, and I'll say restarted at... just so I can have them, specifics. Restarted at 207, 208, there. Okay.
I've got another bad part of a good film.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. In Toy Story, if Buzz genuinely believes he's a spaceman, why does he stay still when Andy's in the room?
Why does he freeze when he sees Andy? I don't know. Maybe he's like, maybe it's like cultural appropriation. I don't know. Maybe he's like, this is the culture of the people. I must follow the culture. I honestly don't know. Here's my question. How does Two-Face not die of infection in The Dark Knight?
I think that's just a Batman problem, not really a Dark Knight problem.
Yeah, it's a Batman problem in general. It's just certain things you just kind of have to. Why is there a 2-meter wide hole in the? I mean, hey, we may know that after Rogue One comes out. Why is there a 2-meter wide hole in the Death Star? They can just blow things up if you shoot right into it. Every movie's got problems. Yeah,
we should call it just the Batman problem, not first world problems. The Batman problem.
Batman problems. Hashtag Batman problems. Did we just get We just got 2 new comments from 2 different people. Right on. Oh wow.
Great.
That was weird. Okay. Do you have another question?
I did have one, but then I can quickly find it again. Okay, this one, I've got to mention this because it's from Dean Jones, who I knighted on the Film Brits podcast. Have you ever dressed up as characters from the trilogy, the Cornetto Trilogy? Here I am as Shaun. He also says he met Paul Freeman, who plays Reverend Shooter. Fuck off, Grasshopper.
Yeah.
That guy. And he actually has a really awesome Shaun of the Dead cosplay. He's got the white shirt and the red tie and the cricket bat. I've dressed up as Ed from Shaun of the Dead. You probably find it on my Twitter, where I've got a bloodied, I've got wood shirt, and the hairstyle and everything. I've also got the physique to pull it off. So, Dean, if me and you ever meet at a convention or something, and you are wearing a Shaun of the Dead cosplay, and I wear my Ed one, we've got picture. I don't care who you're with or what you're doing. We're getting pictures.
And okay, I can play.
You can play Martin Freeman, but the Black Martin Freeman.
I can be Black Martin Freeman.
You can be that young black teenage zombie in Shaun of the Dead.
I'll be that one young black teenage zombie. Actually, I think I kind of want to cosplay as what's his name? Basil. I kind of want to be Basil. If anyone from the World's End, I kind of want to be Basil.
With the crazy straw.
Yeah, the crazy straw and the crazy hair. I don't know. I don't know. I really like that character.
So you'll be about 60 years too young, and also just the wrong body shape.
Yeah. God's given stuck with God's given suntan.
Yeah, you just need commitment to the voice. You need to nail the voice and people and the props and the costume. But yeah, you've dressed up as George Lucas one time.
Yes, I did.
Is there any other cosplaying you do?
Well, I know. Well, Halloween is a thing. This is going to be the first year of Halloween where I don't dress up as anything. Which
I guess that quote, Halloween is a thing.
Yeah, sorry. That was way too douchey. I apologize.
It's like, can you imagine posters advertising just Halloween with the quote from Trey? It's a thing.
This Monday, Halloween's a thing. And so usually on Halloween, you dress up as characters. I guess you wouldn't count that as cosplay. But recently, I don't know if you ever saw the TV commercials of Jake from State Farm. I don't know if you ever heard of that. No. I was one year I was Jake from State Farm. Do you know what that is?
I've never heard of that.
State Farm is an insurance commercial, and I think anybody in America should know exactly what I'm talking about. It's an insurance company, and they always do commercials of and the commercial it's basically this guy, and he's up late, and his wife comes downstairs and he's talking on the phone, and she's like, yeah, you can do that for me. Oh yeah, I like that. And the wife's like, who are you talking to? She takes the phone from him. He's like, oh, it's just Jake from State Farm. And he's like, oh, is it really? And he's like, yeah, it's Jake from State Farm. And it's like, well, who is this? And then it cuts to the guy at State Farm, and it's like, oh, it's Jake from State Farm. And she's like, well, what are you wearing, Jake from State Farm? And he's like, khakis. It's just like this mundane guy working at an insurance company in a red shirt and khakis.
Yeah, I've googled him. Yeah, he's got the red polo shirt on. He's on the phone. Okay.
Khakis. It's a really funny commercial, and I think that it's a classic every time it comes on. And at this point, and 1 year for Halloween, I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago. I was Jake from State Farm. I think you can go on my Instagram. I think there's a picture of it. And since I was black, I said, oh well, I guess I'm Blake from State Farm. I'm a black Jake from State Farm. Yeah.
If there's one thing I can say, Dean, is that you do not have the red pen in the pocket. You do not have red on you. Oh no, you do. There's another photo, and you do have red on you. That was my mistake because you posted 2 photos. On the first one, you didn't. Okay, I apologize, Dean.
And then there was I think the year after that I was Nick Fury, but my eye patch broke, so then I was the Terminator. Yeah, that was a rough. And then I think last year, what was I last year? I cannot remember. What was I? Oh, I was a substitute teacher.
Okay.
Last year.
That's pretty frightening.
Right on. Yeah, me as a substitute teacher, am I right? Yeah. I'm trying to find a picture of me as Blake from State Farm. There it is. Are you
going to put it in the Skype chat?
I just might. Or I might just tweet it out, yeah.
That'd be fun. But do you have a question on the Facebook group?
Yes. Yes.
Do you want to say that with more confidence?
Yes, I absolutely have a question. Yes. I don't have a question.
Okay, I'll find one. Okay.
I simply could not decide.
Trey, you lied to me. This is why I've got trust issues. Right, so Ben Berkowitz asks, what's your favourite/least favourite Halloween candy? Also, what should I have for dinner tonight? Hey, favourite, least favourite Halloween candy. Favourites, because... no, least favourite, anything with fruit. Come on, it's Halloween. Like, raisins.
Fruit snacks? Gummies? Like gummy bears?
No, as in stuff like, I don't know, raisin and bran chocolate bars or something.
Dude, Raisinets are the bomb, though. Don't crap on my Raisinets.
Not on
Raisinets
Halloween.
are a thing. Yes, dude. Raisinets are dude. Come on, man. Nothing beats large popcorn, Coke Zero Raisinets. That's like, come on. You're doing it wrong. That's all I'm saying.
I will say I do love popcorn and Maltesers. That's my cinema snack.
I don't know what a Maltese is.
It's like a chocolatey ball biscuit of goodness.
Yeah.
That's an interesting. You just sent me that State Farm cosplay. That's quite
Blake
cool.
Blake from State Farm. That's my giant pumpkin as well. What you see? That's my giant pumpkin. Yeah,
okay.
I carry that around every Halloween. So hey, everyone walks around like these little pillowcases. I'm like, no, you gotta do Halloween. You gotta do it professionally.
Did people recognize you?
Yes, absolutely. Well, because I had a name tag on that said Jake, and they were just like, "Are you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm Jake from State Farm." And they're just like, and they're just like, "That's awesome." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just," because like that's how I talked the whole time. I was just like, "Yeah, I'm Jake from State Farm." They're just like, they're like, "That's adorable." I'm like, "Thank you. I'd like some candy, please." And apply to our insurance policy. Hashtag Obamacare.
I think if you did wind up actually selling any insurance, you should get like a cut of that, like from State Farm. Like,
from State Farm.
Yeah.
If they would actually went to say like, honey, we like someone's like, hey, honey, we need some auto insurance. I'm not sure what to. And like you hear ding dong, trick or treat. I'm like, trick or treat. Hi, I'm Jake from State Farm. It's like, honey, I have an idea. Yeah, but my favorite, if we're going back to the question, first of all, what you should eat for dinner tonight is, I don't know, it's probably something healthy. It's a Sunday evening. Eat some
Cornetto.
It's a Monday. Cornetto. It's a Monday evening for you, so I don't know.
Shepherd's pie.
No, eat something healthy, like eat a salad or something. I don't know. Take care of yourself. Anyways,
with a glass of cranberry juice.
Not calling you fat. I'm just saying, take care of yourself. It's nice to be healthy. My favorite candy of all time is a Kit Kat. There's nothing to me that tastes better than Kit Kats. If you ever want to give me some for my birthday, Trilbee, send me some Kit Kats. Or you're from London.
Kit Kat chunky.
You're from London, or you're from England. Excuse me.
London is England.
Send me a Cadbury cream egg, please. Never had one. I hear they taste.
They're going out of business soon. Well, at least they're going to stop doing cream eggs at some point.
Well, I've never had one, so if you could send that to me, it'd be great. Never had
I'll send
one.
you 2, one to keep forever, because they won't be making it anymore, and then one to eat.
Yeah, and then I'll eat the first one and be like, oh, that was amazing. I'll eat the second one, like SpongeBob. I think I'll eat it now. Yeah. Anyways.
Right, do you now have a joke? Not a joke. I read something and said it out loud instead of what I meant to say. Do you have a question? Or shall I keep on asking? Shall I keep on looking?
I'm sorry, I was looking for a question. What was that? What would you
would you like me to read out another question, or have you got one?
Sure, go ahead. Go on ahead.
Sebastian Archer asks, what's your favourite running joke in the Cornetto Trilogy, i.e. the fence joke?
I mean, is there more than... I mean, how many recurring jokes are there, though?
The Cornetto itself, the fence...
because I would go the fence, but he spoiled it, so I mean, you know what I'm saying.
I'm just googling it. The foreshadowing.
Oh yeah, that might be my thing. Is like I love how much they foreshadow everything. I do really like the callbacks. I'm always down for a good callback, and they do a lot of callbacks.
You sounded like Optimus Prime at the moment.
Did I really? I'm sorry. Do I still?
I think that might be just because I'm on an article.
Are you googling things? Let's not Google things before the Skype calls each other Skype.
Sorry, I was googling recurring jokes in the Cornetto Trilogy, but I think the fence is the obvious one, and they do change it up every time, which I enjoy. Yeah. But I like how even in because it's in Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, they say, "Have you never taken a shortcut before?" But in World's End, they just miss out the line completely, and because he's on his own and he just runs into the fence, doesn't even get close to climbing it, and the fence just collapses from his own weight.
It's like, no! The whole fence just falls over. I love that. Oh man, okay.
I just wish that joke wasn't in the trailers. Which is disappointing.
Okay, I have one, by the way, if you haven't answered your question yet. So Seb Petey on Facebook, he asked, great friend of the show, Seb Petey, he asked, if Edgar Wright were to make a film adaptation of an existing property, what would you like it to be?
Ant-Man. Oh wait. Oh.
Damn.
Awkward.
Let him do a Star Wars movie, please. I know it's not. I know it's not like in a film adaptation of an existing property, but if like we're giving him just a movie to make, please let Edgar Wright do a Star Wars movie and let him even have to be like a Star Wars story. Just let him tell a Star Wars movie, and he could have the energy, he has the excitement, he has the action down. Especially after seeing something like Scott Pilgrim and knowing how well he can handle kind of the special effects, please let him do a Star Wars movie. Yeah.
See, if he were to do a Star Wars movie, it would definitely be an anthology.
Yeah.
Because if you want an Edgar Wright Star Wars movie, you are asking for something very different from the main Skywalker saga.
Or let him be like the kickoff to a new trilogy. Maybe to say, or like let him do like a middle part of the trilogy, because I kind of don't want every Star Wars episode to feel the same. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Episode 4 may have the same plot as Episode 7, but it does not have that same feel as Episode 4 does. Episode 4 feels like a classic 1970s movie. Episode 7 feels like a J.J. Abrams flick, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I kind of want Brad Bird to still do one.
I'm thinking Jurassic Park.
Ooh.
Because I'm trying to think more outside the box, and I'm trying to think of movies that would really fit with his style or what he's done in the past. And I don't want to say MCU because that's too obvious, and he's tried. But I think the Jurassic Park franchise.
Give him a Batman movie. Give him Batman. Oh my god,
that would be fun. Can you imagine like Batman going through the Batcave, suiting up, and getting his utility belt, and it's like all of these edits and cuts? That'd be pretty cool.
Oh, it'd be, and then you as the Batmobile drives out, it's just like, I'll make the I'm getting flashbacks to Batman and Robin.
Oh gosh, this is why Superman works alone.
Yeah, I'll order the pizza. Yeah.
No, but it would depend on what Baby Driver is like. If he's still going to stick with that Cornetto Trilogy, Scott Pilgrim hyperkinetic style, if he's going to break the mold somewhat. I kind of hope he does, but if he doesn't, I'll be happy. But
okay,
yeah, ask me in like 5-6 months' time once that movie has come out, and
right on.
My answer will probably be very different.
I'd like him maybe take on Kingsman. I know that's Matthew Vaughn's baby, but I feel like he could go somewhere with it. That'd be really interesting.
I'd love to
have him adapt one of those. Yeah, have him adapt one of those Disney movies. I know they're like have him do Aladdin. I don't know.
They could have him do Deadpool 2.
That was one of the questions. I think is if you want him to do Deadpool 2, and I think no, I don't want him to do Deadpool 2 because he's a very stylized director. He's a very stylistic director, and Tim Miller was fired from Deadpool 2 or quote-unquote left because Ryan Reynolds did not want to be as stylized. They want to do more of the same, which I'm not a fan of.
It wouldn't surprise me if Fox at least rang his agent, because then they could... Because imagine that narrative. They could be like, well, Marvel wouldn't let Edgar Wright do his vision, but us at Fox with our Marvel properties, we let them do what they want.
I mean, it's a great combination. How clever of a writer... can Simon Pegg play the villain then? Because I just...
Yes, Simon Pegg is Mr. Sinister.
Oh my god! Yeah, no, it's just like, it's just because of the cleverness of how they work, and then the cleverness that Deadpool can have. I'm just worried that they won't let him be a stylized, a good director. It's just I'm worried about Deadpool 2 already. But that's that. Yeah. Okay. So. Mark Dunville asks, what time are we at? We'll have a couple more here. Mark Dunville asks, he says, if you could have a Marvel/DC team-up movie with only one hero from each universe, who would you use? Now, I've said something like this on the show before, and I think that it would be incredibly cool if the post-credit scene for an Avengers film is, or a post-credit scene for like a DC film is like Lex Luthor talking with all the villains of like, this is so far down the line. It's like, Lex Luthor's talking with a bunch of the other DC villains, and he's just like, the Justice League has defeated us for so long. They clearly are used to our abilities. We cannot outmatch them. But I know someone who can. I know everyone who can, or something like that. Like I know someone who can. I know there are tons of people that can take them down. But it's gonna take some time. It's gonna be challenging. And then he has like this giant portal thing right here, and he cuts on the portal, and then out of the portal walks out Loki, and Loki just looks at everybody, and it's just like, and he's just like, when do we start? And then like credit scene's over, and everyone like wets themselves with excitement, and it's just like Loki will, like the Avengers will meet the Justice League or whatever, something like that, and everyone just starts like crying. Everyone's just like, oh my god, yeah,
nerd tears.
Yes, like legitimate nerd tears, yeah.
Yeah, I know that this is slightly different from the question, but my dream, like, DC post-credit scene is, at the end of the movie, Batman, Ben Affleck goes into the Batcave, and then Alfred's like, sir, there's a visitor for you. And then Christian Bale says, and then Christian Bale comes out and says that there's a problem. It's like, what? And then Ben Affleck's like, what is it? What is it? And then Adam West comes out, and he's like, it's more like a crisis.
Oh boy, like a crisis.
And then we've got Val Kilmer.
Oh my god.
And Michael Keaton.
Oh no, see, the first
Clooney.
person to come out is Michael Keaton. I think the first person to step out is Michael Keaton. And then Ben Affleck can come out. Not Ben Affleck, then Christian Bale can come out and say, more like a crisis.
No, it's got to be Adam. It's got Adam West gets the crisis line.
Does he? Fair enough. Oh, that's so sick. Oh, that's so sick. On the respect side, on the MCU side, I think it'd be great that if Fox gets the rights back to Fantastic Four, like maybe you could have a post-credit scene in a Marvel movie be just Reed Richards chilling at with the family at the Baxter Building, and then Willie Lumpkin's just like you have a visitor, sir, and then have to be Stan Lee cameo, or whatever, keep the continuity going. And then it's like, who is it? Or maybe he goes into a room, and much like from the first Iron Man, it's like it's Captain America, it's Chris Evans, and it's just, or let's keep with things. It's Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, and it's like we have so much to talk about Dr. Richards, and then credits over, and everyone's just like, ah! Everyone starts like screaming, just like, oh my god, no way! Or better yet, Hulk movie, Hulk's in the woods trying to live a life. And then you just hear, shit, it's Wolverine. You hear the Wolverine claws, and like the camera pans down, and you see the Wolverine claws, and then Hulk turns around, and then credits, and I start crying because from excitement, I'm just like, these are all just things that I've thought about for like years. If I do see,
I'd love to see Iron Man versus Batman.
Yes. And
one thing you could even include is because Lex Luthor is known for having big iron suits and stuff.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Lex Luthor's anti-Superman suit versus the Hulkbuster? Like, that's something you put on a poster.
That's a trailer shot if I've ever seen one.
Boom, instant $1 billion.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you, Mr. Dunville. And I think
it's got to be Bryan Cranston Lex Luthor, not Jesse Eisenberg.
Could you picture Bryan Cranston in this giant CG suit?
Honestly, it's the type of thing that makes you wake up in the middle of the night with wet bed sheets. It's just the type of thing that gets me excited.
Oh man, okay.
I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for that like future DC scene where like Jesse Eisenberg's on the phone and to his dad, and then it turns out that it's Bryan Cranston on the phone saying, "You are the worst Lex Luthor ever. Now it's time to let the grown-ups take over."
Yeah, it's like playtime's over, son. Let's get now. Yeah, or something like that. In the
yeah.
Oh man.
See, I'm just amazed that it's been like two or 2.5 months since Jared Leto's Joker in Suicide Squad, and they still haven't recast. I'm amazed that that's not happened yet.
Not everybody hates Jared Leto's Joker. We do, Trilbee. We do. Jared Leto hates it apparently.
Recasting, it's for the greater good.
Oh, sorry, my phone started ringing. I thought
No!
I thought it was the
one
fire.
line you have to respond to.
I know, I'm
The
sorry, because like
one
I heard like I thought it was my fire alarm, and then the phone started ringing, and I was just like, the hell? And I was just like, anyways, and with that,
Where were you when I needed you?
The greats are good, and with that, that is where we will close out the show. Thank you all for watching. Trilbee, a good show. Talking about Cornetto Trilogy, and the movie is Trilbee. Where can people find you?
You can find me weeping in the corner. You can find me in the disabled toilets with the out of order sign.
Disabled.
Yeah. Anyway,
we'll always have Anomalisa.
We'll always have Anomalisa. Anyway, what are we talking about? Anyway, you can find me online on my website, www.trilbee.com. Content's been slow at the past couple of weeks because I've just been a very busy bee. But you can also find me on the Film Brits podcast. I'm going to be recording a new episode tomorrow. It should be fun. And also, you can find me on YouTube and at Twitter, on Twitter at Trilbee Reviews. Trey, where can people find you?
They can find me on the YouTube, on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Podcast Media. Yeah, that's pretty much all I need to tell. Oh, yeah, I guess since we're kind of still on iTunes, maybe rate us on iTunes. That'd be appreciated. Time code's listed below. Yeah. Time code's listed. And July 6th, we talk the Doctor Strange in full spoilery detail. And yeah, and catch you all later, our Movie Maniacs.